fill that out in order to speak. Call the roll, please. Here. Here. Trustee Dorr. Here. Trustee Rogers.
Here.
Trustee Lightfoot.
Here.
Trustee Ritter.
Here.
Mayor Perkins. Here. Meeting is 7 o'clock.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Before we get started on the meeting, I would just like to read a statement in regards to the matters that have taken place over the last couple of days at the fire department. The Village of Maywood takes this opportunity to correct any misinformation that is being distributed through the media and the public. The village and its fire chief, Bruno, have been accused of being unpatronized for issuing a ban on all decals, stickers placed on employees' helmets and lockers. The intent of the directive was not to ban the American flag. I repeat, the intent was not to ban the American flag. The village fire station number 1 is undergoing major renovations. While it may have been interpreted broadly, the chief's directive was an attempt to only curb posting of non-work related decals on photos, on lockers, in the fire station, and firefighter helmets. The village firefighters will be allowed to continue wearing the American flag. Their patches and decals on their uniforms and helmets. The Village of Maywood is appointed and elected officials and staff supports the military and all veterans and all public safety employees, including firefighter personnel. The village recognizes the employees' right to honor the American flag. I hope this is addressed this issue. We stand behind the fire department along with our chief that our individuals can wear their flags and the decals, even the decals that was related in the news regarding a sticker that was honoring a veteran from serving in the country, serving in the Marines. That is allowed. Decals are allowed. I just want to make that clear that we stand with our firemen to honor our country and wear the flag. That'll be all. Now, item number 3 on the agenda, I'm going to move into public hearing for consideration of the proposed redevelopment agreement for a portion of St. Charles Avenue Tax Increment Financing District for 14 to 18 North 5th Avenue in regards to Maywood Fine Arts.
You have a motion to open the public hearing.
Make a motion to open the public hearing on the proposed redevelopment agreement.
Second.
Moved in second and open this public hearing. Call the roll, please. Trustee Cross.
Here.
Trustee Jaycox.
Here.
Trustee Dorr. Here. Trustee Rogers.
Here.
Trustee Lightfoot.
Here.
Trustee Ritter.
Here.
Mayor Perkins. Here. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. In regards to the presentation, we have representatives from Maywood Fine Arts going to give just a quick overview of the project. You may come forward and state your name.
Hello, is this good? We on?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Catherine Buss. I'm the Managing Director of Maywood Fine Arts. Our project is to build a building. Those of us who are familiar with us, we are a nonprofit arts organization in Maywood. We teach 941 children a week. In our classes include dance, tumbling, music, drama, art, karate, and circus arts. We own a building at the corner of North 5th Avenue and Lake Street. We've owned that building for 17 years and have cared for it and put a lot of work into it. We rented space across the street in a building that was owned by Walter Lutheran High School for many years. We rented space on the 2nd and 3rd floor for our dance studio. That is our largest program. It houses over 400 dancers. In 2010, the building burned down due to electrical issues in the building on the 1st floor in the thrift store. And since then, we have been without a permanent dance studio space. So we are renting temporarily at a church just down the street, but we have been working for long, hard years to try and come up with a plan that we can afford to raise the money to do it. And we came up with a plan, and we asked the village board to consider a redevelopment agreement in which we would build a beautiful one-story building, and this would encompass several plots of land that are owned by the village. And in this building, we would be able to house our dance school, plus offer more community classes. We've gotten into adult exercise, and we also have a fit and fun program. We partnered with Loyola University. We're hoping that this additional space will allow us to reach more people. So we're hoping this will be a catalyst for the business district. We are based in Maywood. We care about Maywood very deeply. I live in Maywood. Our executive director was born and raised in Maywood. So we've got some deep, deep feelings for Maywood and wanting to see the business district grow. And we're thinking that this building will help to maybe attract some new development. We certainly bring people. We're a positive reason why people come to Maywood. We're 35% Maywood students and 65% from other places, as far out as Schaumburg and Bolingbrook. The families that used to live in Maywood have spread out, but they bring their children back to us because they know we are quality, affordable arts and fitness education. So there's other pictures if anyone wants to see them, but this is the main drawing. Good?
Good. Thank you. Now we hear from our village attorney to wrap up regarding our
Mike Mars is going to give a brief overview of the terms of the redevelopment agreement, just for the public's benefit. Tonight's public hearing is required by the Tax Increment Financing Statute, the TIF law. It requires a municipality that enters into a TIF redevelopment agreement that has economic incentives to conduct a public hearing. It requires the village to identify to the public the terms of the economic arrangement, in terms of the redevelopment agreement. And I would just also ask staff, part of the requirement of the statute is we have to give public notice that Maywood Fine Arts proposal, is on the table for consideration, but we also have to open this opportunity up to other alternate proposals. Did we receive any alternate proposals?
No, sir, no alternate proposals have been received.
So, that was something that the public hearing notice contained, and so we've satisfied that criteria, so we're good to go and summarize the redevelopment agreement.
Good. The board discussed the redevelopment agreement at the last LLOC, but let's go over it again briefly, as Mike said, for the benefit of the public. It includes a series of timelines as redevelopment agreements do, including a closing that's going to take place hopefully by the end of this month. We are on track for that at this point. And then after that closing, and once Maywood Fine Arts has possession of the property, they're going to go out and do some fundraising and obtain sources that are going to be able to help them finance the construction of the project. Their deadline for getting those funds lined up is June 15th, 2015. They're going to then commence construction on or before July 1st, 2015, and complete it by January 1st of 2016. The proposed purchase price of the property is $30,000. In this agreement, Maywood Fine Arts will make an initial deposit to the village of $5,000, and then be responsible for out-of-pocket costs incurred by the village, including legal fees for drafting the agreement, that sort of thing. And even beyond the $5,000 amount, and that's something that we do to make sure that the village is not out of pocket in these types of situations. Zoning relief, the best fit for the proposed use under the zoning code is an educational facility vocational school. We're proceeding towards a public hearing on a tax amendment to make that a special use in the C2 zoning district, and they are going to simultaneously apply for a special use, so that will be under consideration shortly. And then parking was an issue that there was a lot of discussion at the staff level and with the Maywood Fine Arts. And ultimately, Maywood Fine Arts elected, in working with staff, to satisfy the bulk of their parking requirements through a So they will be providing $60,000 to the village also at the time of closing. That will be in lieu of 12 of the spaces that we're required to have. That money goes into a fund with the village that is used for parking improvements throughout the downtown area. And there's also the possibility that the village of Maywood owns a lot just south of the proposed development, which is likely to be developed at least for the short term for parking needs for the general downtown area here. And so that will provide some additional parking for Maywood Fine Arts. There's also 4 spots on the street. We build reverter clauses into most of our development agreements, just to make sure that if the project does not go forward for some reason, that the village is able to get the property back. That is built into this agreement as well. I think Mike mentioned they're not actually requesting any TIP incentives or having this public hearing because it is in a TIP district, but they're not asking for any additional monies from the village in terms of the project for construction and such. And so based on that, those are some of the highlights of the redevelopment agreement. It's the same version that the board had before them at the last meeting. We've just taken out the redlining back and forth between the parties. And so, we're happy to answer any questions, or Maywood Fine Arts is as well.
Just 2 points. I believe the property was raised at $30,000, so the property is being sold at its appraised value to these folks. And then the other point Mike touched on, about the zoning. This development does need zoning. This project will go through the typical normal zoning process and have to receive approval. This type of redevelopment agreement really essentially gives pre-approval to what their zoning needs are, because the board at this time is blessing the development here tonight if it votes in favor of it. So going through the zoning process is somewhat perfunctory, but it's still a requirement of the redevelopment agreement that they dot the i's, cross the t's, and do everything else that a typical zoning applicant who needs zoning relief has to do. So you will see this project come back to you at a later date as they move through the timetable for approvals of various zoning to allow them to get the full development off the ground.
Any questions from the board?
Mayor,
Trustee Clark.
good evening. Question I have, this first one is in our minutes from the last August 13th LLOC meeting, we received the draft redevelopment agreement. And so, Mr. Mars, you indicated that the current one that we have in our packet tonight, you just removed the red line.
Correct.
If it was a draft and the final terms were still being negotiated, how do we know what changes have been incorporated in here as the current?
What you had the draft before you that had shown some of the back and forth between the parties, and at the time, the agreement that was passed out at the last LLOC reflected this sort of final back and forth between the parties. So there hasn't been any substantive discussion since then, and no additional changes to the agreement. So all we did was take out the track changes. So you saw everything that was in this agreement at that last meeting.
But according to our minutes, it indicates that the final terms are still being negotiated. So since we last met, there was still negotiation between our council and Maywood Fine Arts. So the question I have is what, if anything, are you saying that nothing has occurred?
Right.
So
yeah, since that meeting, I as the attorney, haven't
accurate.
talked to their attorneys until yesterday when we touched base on the public hearing. So.
And I also haven't had any conversations with the other side in terms of negotiating any changes to the agreement.
We reached agreement on changes up to the day or so before that last meeting, but we got all those changes into the agreement and were able to distribute it at the meeting. So there was a time when we were negotiating, but nothing since that last meeting.
But that was not what we were told at the August 13th meeting. It was supposed to still been in, still in negotiations. So
I think we said we reached agreement on everything. I don't.
okay, all right. I've been asked by residents to ask a couple other questions. The first being, what benefit is this for the village?
you and the board to decide and for staff to make a recommendation.
But that's not a response that you should be giving, that should be directed at the individuals who are presenting this proposal to the board. And the residents, seeing that this is in a TIF district, the residents should be entitled to hear what are the benefits, because we are in a TIF zone. This is taken away from the school district because of the TIFs. And so if residents want to know that, I think that we should have an answer that we can come back and give to them.
So are you asking me?
I'd like to hear, since you have asked the village to sell property to you, I'd like for Maywood Fine Arts to answer the question.
Certainly. Maywood Fine Arts, our mission is to transform lives with arts and fitness education. For Maywood residents, when we took over the building that we now own at 5th and Lake, there used to be prostitutes and drug dealers right outside the windows. They were boarded up. We opened those windows, we took the boards off, and poof, they went away. Now, unfortunately, they went to other places, but they were no longer on this prominent corner because we were like a beacon of light. That's what we're hoping to do in, I'm sorry, a very poor excuse of a parking lot right now. There have been people hurt in that parking lot. I believe there actually have been people who have died in that parking lot. And what we're talking about bringing, when no other developers, frankly, are knocking on the village door, we're bringing a new development, a new building that is going to take that property and make it something for families, both in Maywood and outside of Maywood. We're going to be bringing people that will use the businesses that are in that area, that will use the Walgreens, that will use the Burger King, that will use the McDonald's, that will use the liquor store across the street, in all honesty, that will use Kathy's Cafe, that will use Mike's Appliance, that will use the tire store that's across the street from us. So we are bringing people to Maywood, positive reason to bring people to Maywood. So I would say to residents that are asking that, that's what we're doing. And we're here to serve the community. We do offer free programming. We see 2,500 pre-K through kindergartners every year in our Books Alive program, which we produce at no cost to the school district. We actually raise our own fundings to produce that. We have a classical ballet for new audiences program that every child in District 89 gets a free ticket to come and see. And this year we're working with the district to bring all of the 3rd grade and hopefully all the 4th grade from District 89 to see that performance with professional dancers. So I would say we are a beacon of hope for Maywood, and this building will allow us to house our dance studio, which is our biggest program, our most creative program, and ensure that we're here for hundreds of years to come. That's what I would say to a resident, being a resident of Maywood.
Okay. Mayor? Another question that I was asked to address is that you had indicated earlier in your initial presentation that 35% of your students are Maywoodians and 65% are outside of the community. Of the 35%, are these all paying students or families, or are there stipends or free classes for those students? And if so, what percentage of that?
I don't remember, we did actually respond to that because in our original update, that was one of the things you had asked, and I don't have the particular numbers here, but yes, for our lessons, so if someone wants to take a dance class or tumbling class, there is a tuition fee, but we do scholarship. We do, as we structure our tuition, we give breaks to families that have more than one child that want to take a class, and we do extensive scholarships. In crunching the data, we did find that 30% of the Maywood residents who took classes received some sort of scholarship, free class, or discount. And we talked about the fact that opening this new studio will help us to raise that. We're hoping to do more, to be able to do 50%. There is nothing specifically for Maywood residents, to be completely honest, but being that Maywood is a challenged community, a lot of the people that we help are from Maywood, but also from the west side of Chicago and other areas that are challenged. So it's roughly, I would say, we can look at the report, but if I remember correctly, it was about 30% receive some sort of scholarship or free class or some sort of thing. And that's not counting all our outreach programs. That's just what people actually pay when they pay their tuition, those that come and take classes with us. 30% of the Maywood students get some kind of discount or free thing.
And the last question that I have here is, once turned over, will Maywood Fine Arts pay real estate taxes? So, question.
Is that for us to answer?
Did you get the question?
No, I didn't.
I said, I was asked to find out, once turned over, will they pay real estate taxes?
Can you elaborate on that for us, Angela? Due to the transaction?
Maywood Fine Arts is a 501c3. Therefore, they will apply for exemption from real estate taxes. They will not pay real estate taxes.
Okay. Thank you.
We have been, in my opinion, I know these type of things don't happen overnight, but I have seen some I've never attended Maywood Fine Arts, but I have many friends here who have attended and now send their children and their grandchildren. They have been very positive to this community, and in my opinion, I'd like to see this move to Tuesday's meeting for approval. I motion that we forward the consideration to the proposed redevelopment agreement for a portion of the St. Charles Avenue Tax Increment Financing District, 14 to 18 North Fifth Avenue, to our next regular board meeting scheduled for September 19th.
Second.
Excuse me, Mayor. I heard an echoing over there, so I'm not quite sure who seconded it, for the record. Who made the second?
And Mayor, I'd like to make a correction to the next board meeting subject to 16th, or 16th.
This has been moved and seconded, this is moved to the next board meeting on the 16th, and that's to give the Fine Arts the 14 to 18 North Fifth Avenue in the 5th District.
Mayor?
Somebody.
Right. Yeah, I just think it's important to make some statements also about this organization and this proposal. I mean, we've gone through several steps to get to this point over, as the petitioner said, a long period of time, but a much longer period of time has been invested by that entity in bringing something that's very unique to not only the Maywood community, but all the surrounding communities that are able to participate in those programs. Their history is long and storied, and that positions them well for being able to be considered for something like this, and particularly at that location. At the end of the day, all resources need to wind up being a part of what enhances the quality of life. And so real estate taxes and any other form of revenue that comes into village ultimately needs to be rechanneled into things that make for quality of life. So things that are important are not necessarily always the dollar, but what ultimately that gets transferred to in terms of the quality of life. Somebody they could dispute, but it's pretty much indisputable that this entity has been responsible for enhancing the quality of many lives for decades. And so it should be clear that anybody that's in favor of this proposal has factored all of those things into it and made a responsible decision based on what makes Maywood a better town and what makes its people have better lives. Thank you.
Now, is there anyone in the public would like to give comment or ask a question before we go for roll call.
Is that far as the topic?
No. This is just for the hearing. We're in the hearing. That's what this is for. If anyone wants to make a comment or ask a question concerning this public hearing for fine arts, you may come to the front, please.
Hi, Linnell Grace, 1018 South 13th Avenue, the president of the Neighbors of Maywood Community Organization. I really want to speak briefly in support of this proposal. It is a quality of life issue. All around us, there are other communities that have similar kinds of art-based programs in their town. And that becomes a means of attraction. The economic benefit, I think, is obvious. You got 2,000, or what was the number, 20,000 people into your town? That gives you an opportunity to build something to support that activity. And I love the fact that 60% of those people are coming from somewhere else, because the idea is to get the money that's in their pocket into our pocket. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment?
Madam President. Madam President, I'd just like to make a brief comment. I've lived in this village proudly for 39 years, and I will stand proudly with Maywood Fine Arts for the support that they've given our children, even given old people, the pride of seeing these kids perform at different entities and different entertainment venues. And I would wholeheartedly support, and I wish Ms. Bauman was here to be able to expound on the kids that have come out of this program and where they've gone and what have they brought, and they say, hey, I learned this in Maywood. So, me personally, I do. I have a real genuine love for this organization, because you brought nothing but positivity to the village of Maywood. So, that, carry on.
Thank you. Anyone else? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Crawford?
Aye.
Trustee Jaycock?
Aye.
Trustee Dorr?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot? Trustee Rivers?
Aye.
Mayor Perkins?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move to adjourn the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and second that the public hearing is adjourned.
You can just do a voice vote, no roll call if necessary.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Public
you.
hearing is adjourned.
Next item on the agenda is public comments.
Okay, first is Jean Van Diver.
Okay, just 1 minute, please. When public comments, come to the mic, and according to the Office of the Attorney General, we just got the word, you do not have to give your address. You do not have to give your address according to the Office of the Attorney General. So you can come to the front, to the mic, face the board, please, and do not talk about the board. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, with all due respect, I have to say something about the board. Okay. I am pretty good, thank you. My name is Jean Van Diver, and I'm an investor, but I'm just curious about the board. Are these trustees working with you to get things done, or they're still in the old administration so to speak. Because you know what? I've been coming to these meetings and I've seen things in the area that have not been done.
Point of order.
Now, it has been determined that I make the decision whether or not point of order is called.
What's the nine?
Ms. Vanderbilt.
Oh,
Continue.
You just said not to say anything about the building, that's what's going on, that's point of order. It is not what you just got to say, we're not gonna have anything to talk about the board members here. That's the first thing come out of my mouth, that's point of order.
but listen to me, I pay my tax dollars here and I'm not giving any service for the tax dollars down on the taxes we pay here. We
I
have
do
6
too,
pieces of properties here, we pay approximately $40,000 in property tax. We cannot keep tenants because of the area, 17th and Madison, okay? By now, in the end of October, we will lose about 5 tenants, to be exact 5. We have to pay our property tax, and it comes from our rent. And if we can't rent our property, how are we going to pay our taxes? Now, get with it. I spoke with you once, and you were very nasty, so to speak. Okay? The next thing I would like to address the sewage problem in the village. A lot of people having their basement flooded whenever it rains. Is there a problem with the sewage within the village?
We're going to discuss that a little later.
Okay,
Thank you.
let me see. Fire chief, you ought to get something more constructive to do instead of these little stickers. We're not in kindergarten. Okay?
Point of order, Madam
That's
President,
it.
point of order.
She's talking about, I am running this meeting, okay?
Okay.
I am running this meeting. She is a taxpayer and she's speaking. Allow her to give her comments. And if they're not true, then don't worry about it.
Just address it and let me know if it's true or not. As I said, we pay approximately $40,000 in property each year. And if our places, our apartments are rented or not, we still have to pay it without the rent, okay? And that's why I'm ticked off with what's going on in the village. I lived there from 1968 to 72, and my children were born in the village of Maywood. And we invest quite a lot of money in the village. And I don't see anything as far as improvement is concerned going on. Bottom line, that's it. But I want to know where my tax dollars are going on, the other homeowners' tax dollars, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Emmanuel Wilder.
My name is Emmanuel Wilder. I'm here because we were on the agenda for tonight, and we're not on it, so I'm going to ask the board if it could be placed back on there. I'm with the Board of Fire and Police Commission, so if it's okay with the board, we'd like to be placed on the agenda. That was my understanding that we were on there tonight, but we're not.
Okay, I will address that. But right now, under the circumstances, we have some very important things that are going on here in this village. And for that reason, you will be on the next LLOC. Because the things that we got going on right now are very important. As you understand, we made the news. And then we had the problem with the water. So there were things that came up preceded what's going on with going on the agenda.
I understand.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Mr. James King, he's asking for an additional 3 minutes to make a presentation for his conversation.
Mayor, we didn't hear anything of what,
Okay, Mr. Myers said
Assistant Clerk said.
something that he wants to make a presentation and it has to do with.
Mr. James Kane is here, want to talk about expanding the TIF, the enterprise zone. He just wanted to give us just a quick brief overview. He's not on the agenda for tonight. He met with you along with staff about a month ago, but it's just a FYI for the board. Of course, this item needs to be on the agenda. The next LLC where we go into depth. We just want to just give a quick brief overview.
Excuse me, Mayor.
try to give him permission, he's speaking during public comments coming up, just giving just an overview of what's going to take place, what the board is going
On
to
the
be.
public comment.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And I just wanna make it clear, not trustee Cross.
I was trying to get clarification on that too, because I thought this was for public comment. This is a village issue, and if this is a village issue, should it not be directed to the manager to discuss with you and get it on the agenda, instead of taking time from public comments to address something that we're gonna have to have further discussion on?
The board could elect to allow him to speak or not, he just wanted 3 minutes to just give his overview.
He's here.
Yeah, he's here,
Sign in.
and obviously this have to go on the next agenda till we go in depth. He just wanted to just make the board aware that we're not blindsided.
Okay. Thank you, go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, board members. And I'm sorry, I'm not looking to waste your time. I have a client in a situation where they're trying to make a significant investment decision. I've been working with them for 18 months. I've been working with some of the members of the village here, and I asked for this opportunity to, at least during public comment, give you a heads up, because if we're not going to get to a point of a vote, then I have to see these jobs go to New York, and it's going to happen. But I'm not going to let it go without a little bit of fight, so I apologize. My name is Jim Kane, and I'm an attorney here in Chicago. The reason I'm here before you is I'm actually here with good news. There's an opportunity to increase the employment opportunities in this local labor market area. And I highlight local labor market area because the Maywoodians don't just work in Maywood. And I have a client with a plant 2 miles from here. They're a large pharmaceutical manufacturer. You'd never even heard of them before. They're a German company. They employ 12 Maywoodians. It's my understanding at least 3 of the employees from Maywood have been there for 30+ years. And this plant historically has had no opportunity to expand because of the urban area that it's in. The fact that there was buildings on the north and the south of it. The fact that there was a rail spur running adjacent to it. But now all of a sudden some land has become available, and just last Friday I learned that the railroad, who I was told would never sell us the rail spur, sold us the rail spur, or agreed to sell us the rail spur. So we're in a situation where I have an opportunity to create 400 new local jobs in addition to the 400, and I have a plant manager that grew up a couple miles from here that wants the investment here. The investment would actually bring manufacturing jobs from Europe to the United States. It's a big deal. We talked to congressmen to let them know we have an opportunity to bring manufacturing jobs to the U.S. Unfortunately, this company also has a plant in upstate New York with lower electric rates, lower water rates, with no taxes, because New York just got rid of all the taxes on manufacturers, so we're fighting an uphill battle. We've worked with the Illinois Department of Commerce. We've met with the mayor, we've met with Mr. Myers, we've met with your enterprise zone administrator. We're down to, we either need the enterprise zone benefits or we need a high impact business designation. The high impact business we can get from the state, or we could try and get an enterprise zone expanded, and the closest one is in Maywood. What we're proposing is an expansion. You need to be contiguous with your enterprise zone, which is all of Maywood. So it would somehow have to go up to 25th Avenue. My client's plan is south of Armitage, north of North Avenue, and west of 25th Avenue. I don't know if you know where the Little League field is over there by the Melrose Park Water Tower, but that's about where it is. It's an industrial area, and the enterprise zone is the way we can lock this up. The problem is I've been working on this 18 months, and I didn't want to come to you before I had the rail spur, because you could have expanded the zone. If I didn't get the rail spur, there'd be nothing to talk about. I've been asked this a lot. Just real quick, I've also talked to Representative Welch and to Senator Lightford about this project. We talked to them in the legislative session down in Springfield to say that, you know, anything they could do to help us, because we know this is a challenge. And they asked me the hard questions. Why? Why would you get a public official in Maywood? What's in it for Maywood? Why would you vote for this? and I think I have a few answers. First of all, the zone was created in 1988. It's good for 30 years, so in a few years, it's over. Second, Illinois just passed a law saying we can designate new zones. Old zones can go in and apply for a new zone, but unless they can prove that they're gonna get immediate jobs, investment, and demonstrate regional cooperation, the Department of Commerce is not inclined to give an old zone a new designation. If you look at the history of Maywood, part of your challenge is you don't have a lot of land to develop. It's another urban area where it's kind of a challenge. So I think one opportunity is this could demonstrate regional cooperation. It could demonstrate immediate investment in jobs, and we're talking an investment of $250 million or more. Jobs, more than 400, good paying jobs. Jobs that people, as long as they have a high school degree in mechanical aptitude, they qualify for positions over there. So let's talk about the jobs. The company is willing to publish the jobs through the enterprise zone and work with Angela to your citizens first. We won't put public notice of the jobs. We'll have to work out mechanically what that is, but we're willing to post those jobs. We know that you have qualified residents for those jobs. The other thing is economic. I did a lot of research. I've talked to a lot of enterprise zones. Many enterprise zones have a fee, and the fee is 0.5%, capped at $50,000 for the construction material exemption benefit. This project with that fee would generate a $50,000 fee that would go to the enterprise zone, or you set up an enterprise zone fund, and that money can be spent to support any activity in the enterprise zone. And then, depending upon the scope of the zone and other projects that might come in along the 25th Avenue corridor, you could generate fees similar to that. And I can tell you, I work across the country. This is a huge, the enterprise zone benefit is very big to large industrial employing organizations. So I think that would be another benefit. What's it gonna cost you? Well, first, we need a study. The study will be by Kane McKenna. It's not gonna cost you a penny. Either my client or the other governmental entity where we're located. Is that 6? Oh, don't do fast. So I guess in summary, our hope is to be on the next agenda on the 24th, where there'd be a presentation, hopefully from Mr. Myers and the Enterprise Zone Administrator, Angela Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
What firm are you with?
I'm with Kane and Company. It's my own firm. I used to be a partner with Arthur Anderson many years ago.
And you're in Chicago?
I'm in Chicago.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Just real quick, have you designated an area? What area are you looking at?
I've come up with a map to get us from your zone up to my client's property. I blew it up and then we decided that was too much for tonight. I could show you, but basically, if you went across 21st Avenue in St. Charles, is kind of your northwest corner of Maywood. We need to jut over to 25th Avenue, and then going up 25th.
Is that still going up St. Charles?
Well, yeah, it kind of, I mean, you can draw whatever
Are you
you
going
want.
north? Or are you
I'm going north and west, right along the border there to stay in Melrose Park. We could go in Bellwood too, but then you add another jurisdiction that would have to do a public hearing. Go up 25th Avenue and west of 25th Avenue to the railroad tracks, and you go straight up to Armitage. And then between North Avenue and Armitage, you'd go west to Cornell.
So Maywood would be on the furthest southern spur of the enterprise zone?
Correct.
On the fringe? I mean,
Yeah, Maywood is currently, all of Maywood is the enterprise zone, and then we would just pick up a branch.
all of Maywood is the enterprise zone?
Yes. And that was the original designating ordinance, that's what was defined as the enterprise.
Thank you.
Thank you for.
Thank you. Tim McDonald.
Good evening, Board. My name is Tim McDonald. I'm the Vice President of Service Employees Union, which represents the firefighters here in this village. You've probably seen a lot on the news over the past couple of days, and the problem is this all could have been avoided. We met with different village officials over the 3 days requesting to sit down and discuss this matter. And this issue, we were told there were no interest in talking to us. If you want to know who went to the press first, that would have been the fire chief. We did not react until such time as he went to the press and made a statement to the press. We're not here tonight to rehash everything. What we are asking is you have a board meeting next Tuesday night. The village board and the village policy allows that the members of the fire department do have a right to address the trustees in executive session, so we don't have to air our dirty laundry again out in public. And we're requesting next Tuesday night we be allowed to come address those issues with the village trustees in executive session. Thank you.
Thank you. Gloria Clay. I have one question, probably the same question I've been asking forever. When are our alleys gonna get started? Where are they going to start? And when will there be a completion? Now, the promise, these alleys in September is almost over, so we have to know now when do they plan on getting started. The other thing I wanna say is, and I don't know, well, I'm gonna say it, but the baggy pants ordinance. And you have officers that are being told that this ordinance is not important enough to adhere to. And if it's not, then the person that's making those type of accusations need to be dealt with. The baggy pants ordinance is there for a reason. And that causes more problems in the village of Maywood. And I don't understand why, and I guess I'm talking to the chief, I don't understand why it is that we cannot seem to get a handle on the baggy pants that's being worn in, you don't see it no place else, you do see it, but not as prevalent as it is here in Maywood. And the police car just roll right past them, like you don't even see them. Also, the loud music, I know there's an ordinance against the loud music, but yet and still you can hear 1 block, you can hear 3 blocks. So I'd like someone to let me know, are these ordinances being adhered to, and if not, why? Thank you.
Ward, Wade, Senior.
Good evening, Board. Denard Wade, Senior, lifelong resident for the Village of Maywood. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm also a member of the Maywood Fire Department. Come as a citizen tonight to speak. First and foremost, the ongoing issues that's been going on has been totally out of context. At no time has anybody wanted to disrespect the flag or do the nonsense that's been across the news that was stated. It's just a simple order of moving forward to keep consistency within the fire department. I'd like to speak on behalf of the fire chief. Excellent member, let alone lifelong member of the Village of Maywood, and also with the department over 20 years. Flawless record, most dedicated individual on the department. There's a group of us that's here to speak on his behalf. We have to take care of our own. We have a lot of outsiders that come into our village and slamming us. And it's important that the facts are evaluated to get a time that you get the time to hear what he has to say uninterrupted. The overall goal was to have the lockers in a professional context. This was the final product. All right. Things got taken out of context with the union doing what they wanted to do. There's a grievance process. Now, when individuals have an issue with order, with direct order, you follow the order, and there is a procedure to go through, which is the grievance process. With the grievance coming, that's 3 duty days, roughly a week. They'll give respond. But to have someone directly over you demanding to respond and approach what I think is a calculated assault on the fire chief. He had the opportunity, if he had the opportunity, he wanted to have the opportunity to evaluate and make the corrective decisions. As far as the lockers, those lockers has been ongoing. April we had an issue, June we addressed it, and then September was the third strike, the memo came out. So there was some history. It's not that it just erupted off an event. You got basically 4 guys that are out of control, and I feel bad for the other 33, even though within those 33, some may not agree with the order, but they stayed with the policy. But you have the 4 that have made a circus out of it. There's still opportunity for the chief to answer the initial grievance, but now we're here with all the media, which is inappropriate and embarrassing. As far as, again, the chief, excuse me. No, we didn't go, we have history. No, we didn't.
It's
okay, What is it? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. No argument. We're good friends, but we have a disagreement, and there's nothing wrong with having disagreements, but it's a way to disagree.
That's right.
Everybody sit down, and management basically balance things out. Now, things came up with what they were talking about racism. Yeah, we've had racist incidents that took place in the past and at the fire department. All right, and again, it is management's responsibility to keep the balance, that everybody work together to provide an effective emergency response unit. I take strong offense that SEIU shows out, and it's been fine, it's been peaceful. Chief Bronall's been doing great things. He's got the EMS program back on. The guys really didn't have any problems until there was a residency issue that came up. All right, and then things started. But again, if there's an opportunity, if there's an issue, there's always opportunity to sit down and speak like men to get it done. All right, but you can't push him. He has a window of opportunity where the grievance is there, and you stand it over him and push him is wrong. The officer is always the benchmark as far as the organization. We pride ourselves, again, our leaders here. That was the final product. That was the final product. That was the goal that was trying to be achieved. Between social media, between deliberate attacks, between lies, I witnessed lies that were put on the media by our guys, some of our guys, inaccuracy. Now I want to speak on the department. Great department. Guys get a little rustled, guys get a little upset and get a little tussled. That's when we need to sit down and then communicate. But I am offended that 4 people are getting all this attention, but they have violated all types of rules, regulations, and policy, and the other 33 that did it right have to suffer. It's wrong. And I close on the fact with residency. You're going to need more firefighters that's from this community. Agenda or an action plan need to be established to set up, and I'm willing to be part of the solution with that. To get qualified people that are from this community. You know why? When an incident takes place and they're off duty, say for instance you get a snowstorm tonight, you want your first responders close. Those are the important people. They need to be close and ready to go. We pay too much money, and I'm speaking as a citizen, we pay too much money, too much taxes, where all of a sudden we got manpower when we need it most, as far as a flood, as far as a snowstorm, or whatever the case may be, a sudden emergency, a 311 of a large apartment building fire. They need to be close. So we need to make an agenda to develop an action plan. I'm willing to be part, again, in that solution. If you have any questions, and I just humbly ask you all, just to give the chief an opportunity to speak without the camera, without the social media, without the union, and gather the facts before making comments. I thank you, and I'll close that Chief Bronall, he's a Christian gentleman, he's a man of honor, he has courage, and he's demonstrated that all along, and it's not a fake. He's a good guy. We got a good guy that's in town. Now, as far as the outsiders and not seeing all the hateful calls, and then legitimate inquiries, what's going on? Because the lies that were out there, they were saying that we were telling them to take the flag off the shoulder, take the flag off the pole. Are you serious? But it requires a phone call if that's what's being put out there. Be advised, there are people that put calculated lies and issues to create a downset for progress. There's been nothing but progress, which Chief brought up. And with some, I believe it's too much progress. And then with others, they got miscommunication to get everybody fighting. That's why we stopped and put everybody in the room and discuss it. I thank you, and God bless.
Good job. Good job. All right, all right. Thank you.
Ms. Vanderbilt?
Another one.
I'm proceed to respond to comments. Okay. Sandra, in regards to the flooding problem, we have our engineer, he will be addressing this issue tonight, discussing some matters that we're looking at, so that will be addressed. In regards to matters on the 17th, I am aware of some of those problems that's over there that's not up to par. The mayor and I have talked personally about it. We have our officers working on some of those projects, especially the one on the corner right across from the school. We just had some debris removed just this last week. Mr. Wilder, we will work to get you on the agenda for the Board of Fire Commission. That's what the board had, gave a motion to have the Board of Fire Commission on the board in September. Mr. Kane, thank you for your brief presentation. Mr. McDonald, you requested to attend the exec session for the village board. The board does not have any objection. I will put it on the agenda for exec session. In regards to the, Mrs. Clay, pardon me, in regards to the alley, again, Mr. Mark Lucas will be addressing that item. I don't want to take up public comments, but he will be addressing that item, where we at in the process regarding the alleys. In regards to baggy pants and music, I'll have the chief address that if you have anything to add. Mr. Wade, we thank you for your comments. Chief, would you like to add anything regarding the baggy pants and how we're addressing it?
Yes, I've always had an open door policy. If there is an officer that's overlooking saggy pants, I mean, I make arrests, and the boss he gets a monthly report on noise reductions as well as saggy pants and all violations. In fact, I just sent a statistic out over a 4-year period that shows that we're even down 11% in crime stats, to all the village board members, trustees, and mayor. So the thing is that we're addressing issues, but if somebody's going away from something and you can see the car, I mean, they call the seatbelts tally belt, because even our officers who drive around without seatbelts, I make them write themselves tickets. But you let me know and I'll address my problems.
Thank you.
And that includes me.
Thank you, Chief. At this time, Mayor, I'm going to comment on public comments. I'll leave it open if any trustees or attorney want to add anything else.
Madam President?
Trustee Dorff.
With all due respect, everyone that approaches this microphone has the right to say whatever they feel, and we listen. However, I'm gonna speak for myself. I've tried working with the mayor. I'd like for the mayor to work with us, and that is the truth, and that is the reality. Some of the issues that we are facing, we can't address because we're busy trying to fix what some folk have gone outside of the ordinances to do, and we have to fix that before we can address the issues of the hanging out on 17th and Madison. This is a new chief. You've made your statement. He will address it, and if there's anything that you can do to help him in addressing that issue, I'm sure he'll be willing to work with you. But as being elected by the people, I will not stand for anyone to come in and disrespect the employees that handle the day-to-day processes. And thus far, if you have a complaint with one of the individuals, there's a village manager that you can see, but we never look in a good light when we come to this microphone, and all we do is say negative things and bash one another. I think everybody on this board is willing to work with anyone, but to continue now 16-month tale of, are we willing to work with the mayor? I get it that we have to work as a team, and I'm willing to work with her, but I won't be disrespected, and I'm not gonna just sit quiet and let someone disrespect our employees, because there is a policy and procedure for that.
Trustee Jacob.
I just want to make one comment in regards to the Police and Fire Commission being taken off the agenda. We have pushed to have the commissions give a report at the LLOC meetings because this is a committee meeting. And we have had, this is our packet for tonight. Over the last 3 months, we have had packets that said like this, taking care of stuff that was supposed to be really important that's still kind of hanging out there on the books. So for that to be taken off, I don't get the reason, I don't understand it. And based on the issues that we have with the police and fire department, that certainly should have been an item that stayed on this agenda. So I don't know what the reason was or what the mayor and, not to point the finger, but I mean, it was just stated that there was a comment came from the mayor and the manager. And particularly if it was scheduled for this meeting, it should have stayed. And we should have been apprised of why it was requested to be taken off. We have also asked that department heads give a report, at least 2 departments. So we should have 4 reports coming forth at every LLOC meeting. 2 departments to report on what's taking place, what's going on, what's happening with the money, as the people request, what equipment we need, where we're going, just what's going on. And also, at the commissions, we need to know what the commissions are doing. And certainly, if there's a request to be on the agenda, it should certainly stay on there and let us decide whether it needs to come off or not. Because perhaps the issues that may have even come up tonight with the fire department may have been one of the issues that came up that the Police and Fire Commission was having a problem with. And we would not be in a position to be embarrassed at any level. And that's my comment on that. And also, you know, a lot of us pay taxes up here at the, a lot of people in the village pay taxes, but you have to be aware of what your tax monies go for as it relates to the operation of the village. And when there are financial issues to be addressed, if you have specific questions, you can address that to see how much monies are being paid. If we had a finance committee, you would understand some of the inner workings of what's happening with the monies. And certainly in a position to ask that when we do budgets and review the budgets or there are amendments to the budget, to actually know and see where your dollars are being spent and see how much money of the tax dollars are actually coming into the village. When taxes are paid, there are various taxing bodies that get a lot of that money. And certainly Maywood gets a big portion of your tax payment. So yes, you are entitled to know what's happening with your money, where it's going. If you're dissatisfied with the services that you get, you're supposed to address that. And certainly the area is to the manager. The manager is responsible for bringing that to us so we can make the necessary adjustments in terms of how your monies are being spent. And perhaps we can make some decisions to redirect those tax dollars being spent in areas that it might be more needed.
Thank you.
Madam President, just a brief comment concerning we've been in limbo with our commissions, our boards. Now I'm looking at here's another appointment to a commission, and I'm getting calls from people that were appointed to the commission, to a commission or to a board, and they haven't had a board meeting. Not one board meeting and no conversation in between the village and the commissions. And I've gotten several phone calls saying, hey, I was duly appointed to this commission, and we haven't had any meetings. Now, I remember back working with the mayor, whereas we did a back and forth on let's put people on these commissions. We keep, and we are constantly appointing people to these commissions, and I'm getting conversations where commissioners don't meet, I don't hear from the village. I don't know when there's a meeting, so I mean, I would like some kind of clarification. If it exists, I would like to have some clarification on, what are we doing? Just approving, people, and it was, the last thing, it was my suggestion that I think if a person, a resident, is willing to serve on a commission or a board for the village of Maywood, you ought to at least give them their 5 minutes and have them appointed at a board meeting. Not show up at the clerk's office and get a snapshot and not have any other correspondence with the clerk's office as to when will we have a meeting, what are we going to be discussing, and so on and so forth. So I'd like some clarification on that, and you don't have to give it to me tonight, maybe by Tuesday. What are we doing with these commissions and these boards?
Well, if I may respond, we have some active commissions. I guess it depends on what commission you're talking about. We can talk offline and I can find out, but we have commissions meeting, historic preservation,
Economic development.
Economic development have not met yet, but, police and fire, zoning, we have some open, so it's just a matter of which one.
So I'm saying, we've got some, okay, I grant you.
Talk offline and find out what we're talking about and get the staff liaison engaged to, put an agenda together to have a meeting with the issue.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone?
Mayor.
Trustee Lake.
Could we have a letter or whatever with the positions of the commissions, exactly what status they are on the commissions? I want to know what status each one of them. Like I said, we voted on it and we haven't seen anything. I'd like to know just what status. Well, ones of who are working, who are not working, what it said. I want to know status. All of them.
Anyone else?
Okay. Item number 5, minutes for the legal, excuse me.
Trustee, I want to make a couple comments. One, I don't think that we should tell the residents that they can't talk about the board members. I think you have a right to address how we govern on your behalf. Now, personal attack is something different. But if a resident comes here at a board meeting and says, I don't think that how you handle the subject matter on our behalf, I don't agree with it, we should not have a problem with that. If you came to attack us personally, then I think that that would be out of order. But if you are coming to address our actions on behalf of this village, you're entitled to do that. And I heard you say earlier, you're a taxpayer, you absolutely have that right to come in here and let us know. I'm saying, I'm agreeing with you. I do believe that you have a right as a taxpayer to hold us accountable for our actions, because the decisions we make have an impact on you and your families and your pocketbook. So you have that right. Anything other than that, if you were personally attacking one of the board members, that would be out of order, and I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that, but I'm just saying that I think that any resident who comes here before the board in public comment should have that opportunity to say what they feel as it relates to what we do up here. Okay, now, one of the other things, I heard you also ask, do we work together? No, we don't. Okay, now, that's just being very straight and honest, okay? We have board members who are interfering, they're having private conversations with developers. It is out of order, it is against the law. Okay? Well, you know who we are, okay? Shoe fit, wear it, don't walk over it. But the point is that we do have a lot of interference here on this board. We do not work in unity. One of the things I heard someone say earlier tonight is, and I think it was Chief Denard, and that is, we can agree to disagree, okay? But when we sit here on this board and we serve in this capacity as trustees and a mayor, we're supposed to be doing the business of the village. When we walk out this door, you go to your house, I go to mine, and we can keep it like that. But when we return here, and put on the hats of elected officials, we should remove the personal and handle the professional, and that is to do the business on behalf of the village. So with that, I'm just saying, you know, if you want, you asked a question, I'm trying to answer, and I'm trying to answer it honestly. Now, we have separation here. It shouldn't be. I have on numerous occasions made a motion, and I can't get a second. Anybody seconding my motion is not stating that they are agreeing with me. That's only putting it up for discussion. That's the difference. But nobody wants to do that. We have an issue where we're concerned more in addressing whether the mayor's office is here on 40 Madison Street instead of addressing the issue that you brought tonight, which is with regard to flooding. That's a serious issue. Moving the mayor's office is minute to me, okay? We have to get to the point of either handling the business of this village or we don't belong sitting up here in these seats. Simple as that. Thank you.
Trustee Jacob.
Okay, I just want to respond to one thing that Trustee Ely Cross said. She cannot speak for me in terms of whether I get along with anybody or cooperate with the mayor. Now, she doesn't know what I do with the mayor, and to make a statement like that, that's becoming kind of personal because you don't know what I do. Now, I don't think that there has ever been a board in this village or any other village where everybody was exactly on the same page. That's because they're individuals. They bring different things to the table from experience, background, or whatever. Maybe how long they've lived in the community, what they know about the community, what they've done in the community. But there has to be a good working relationship in order for anything to work. You can go to a job in a big corporation and everybody does not agree. That's their opinion, and they're entitled not to agree. But they have a responsibility to get a job done. And that is what we have here as trustees. True enough, people don't have to like each other, but they should at least be cordial to each other and professional in the manner in which they do things. And you can respectfully agree to disagree like you do anywhere. You know, but to finger point and say that certain things are not happening, I don't know what Trustee Cross's relationship is with anybody. I don't know what Trustee Doris's or the rest of them with anybody. But we have to meet here 4 times a month to take care of the village's business. But to say that we're not cooperative, I think the only person that could say that would be the mayor in terms of each one of us individually. And that would be a two-way street. We each have to reach out to each other in order to get this job done in this village. It's not a one-way street. It's not the mayor's street. It's not the trustee's street. The street belongs to us all. And we all have to accept responsibility for what is good that's happening to the village and what is bad that's happening to the village. And we certainly have the right to let a motion die if that's the case. Okay? That is just part of the parliamentary procedure. You make a motion, if there is no second, the issue dies. It's nothing personal, it's the issue. And that's what people have to get off of, are these personal things. We're here to discuss business and issues at hand. And everybody has their right to weigh in any way that they want. Maybe it died for a motion this time because of the presentation that was made, and maybe it will come back the next time, and it's worthy of some discussion. But to say that it's personal because something died for lack of a second, I don't think that's fair to make a statement like that. So I'm just saying, when you put things out there, you have to be able to support and back up what you say as fact, as compared to just throwing a blanket statement out there. And I don't think, if you go back, like I said, I'm gonna wrap this up, that there has been any board that has gotten along completely 100%. And that's because we have overlapping terms, okay? You have 4 people that are elected, 2 years later, another group, 3. 2 years later, another 3. And many times they're from different groups, organizations, or individuals, or whatever, that want to run by themselves. One with a group doesn't make any difference. But you have a variety of people that sit here for a variety of reasons.
Trustee Doris.
I'm gonna be really quick. I don't know any of the boards that the other trustees have sat on, but in my opinion, I'll work with anyone. But when we sit here, we should be handling the business of this village, not creating a clown show, not making this town appear as though we are ignorant, not representing the people of this town in a negative manner. Each time we come here, there are questions being asked by Trustee Cross. They go on and on and on. I've made the recommendation that when we were elected, we don't just work when we're in these seats. Everyone sitting up here needs to work 24/7 in order to move this community where all of us want it to be. But we spend time here when we should be handling the business. This is nothing directly to you, but for everyone. People continue to turn this into a personal issue. This is not personal. How I feel about someone sitting on this board is my opinion, but I know every time I sit down here, I need to respect each and every person that sits here. I need to respect each and every employee that works for this village, because at the end of the day, like I said before, we have to work together. That's the only way this is going to work. So no one can speak for me but me. So I just wanted to put that on record.
Mayor,
Thank you.
Mayor,
Trustee Cross.
just one thing. As a trustee, my job is to ask questions, okay? While I'm asking questions, I'm doing my job. When I stop asking questions, I'm not doing my job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next item is item number 5. Approval of minutes for the Legal License Ordinance Committee meeting from Wednesday, August 13th, 2014. Found in your packet on page 37.
Madam President, I make a motion to approve the minutes for the Legal License Ordinance Committee meeting Wednesday, August 13th, 2004. I'm sorry, 2014.
Second.
They moved and seconded approval of minutes for the Legal License and Ordinance Committee meeting Wednesday, August 13th, 2014. Are there any questions?
Mayor,
Trustee Cross.
on page 5 at the top, item 2, it's a reference to the draft redevelopment agreement between the Village of Maywood and the Maywood Fine Arts Association. In paren, it says, this is an initial draft. Final terms are still to be negotiated by the parties. That was the issue that I brought up in earlier statement tonight. So if this is untrue, then that needs to be changed in the minutes. Mr. Mars is not here now, but he had indicated that that final terms had already been established prior to us meeting on August 13th. So if that's the case, then these minutes do not reflect accurately his statement tonight.
I see that. That's part of the title to the item. I wasn't involved in this meeting, but what I can say is, if you want to take that out, I have no issue, because it seems it's clear in everybody's mind that the final draft was presented to you. There have been no changes since this meeting coming forward to tonight. So just remove that, those words that are in the parentheses. Yeah, as amended.
Jacob.
I have a couple corrections. On page 3 of 6, item number 4, is proposal from the West Coast YMCA to extend should be Fred Hampton instead of Fed Hampton. Cool. Okay, and then I just had a question about, on page, okay, while we're on that page, item number 5. It says discussion none, but just ahead of that, there was discussion. Okay, and then going back to page number 2, just writing discussion. I didn't know if this was accurate. I really wasn't sure, so my question is, it says Mr. Myers responded that insurance application should be submitted to the mayor's office as compared to his office.
What section are you referring to?
Page 2 of 6.
And what
Right
item?
in discussion.
Line 6, very first one.
Yeah.
Under discussion?
I don't know if that was accurate.
No. Not accurate.
I'm sorry?
No, that's not accurate. Should go to my.
Okay, we need to change that then. Let the minutes reflect, I guess.
Should be submitted to Mr. Myers.
Should be sent to the village manager, don't you just do that? Okay, and then, also, just for clarification, under item B on the second page, the village manager report, again, where we had discussion, was that no discussion after the motion? Is that what that was? Yeah. Okay. And then, okay. Okay, that's it. I had a question about something else, but I need to talk to the manager about that. And that is it for corrections.
I would have the move into the second, just acknowledge that the motion is, to approve the minutes as amended before, if they were willing to do that.
Amend your motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes with the exception of,
As amended.
as amended.
Okay, now, second that. Call the roll.
Trustee Jaycock?
Mr. Crawford, aye.
I'm sorry, trustee Cross?
Aye.
Trustee Jaycock?
Aye.
Trustee Flores? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot? Trustee Rivers?
Aye.
Mayor Burton?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is item number 6, public items. First item under public items is the mayor's report. On the mayor's report number 1, we have appointment of Mr. Kenneth R. Watkins, Jr. to the Historic Preservation Commission.
Mayor?
Trustee Dorr.
Motion to appoint Mr. Kenneth R. Watkins Jr. to the Historic Preservation Commission.
Second. The moved and second that we appoint of Kenneth R. Watkins Jr. to the Historical Preservation Committee. Are there any questions?
Madam President,
Trustee Rick.
is Mr. Watkins present? Here. Okay, just wanted to see you, see your face.
Call the roll, please.
Trustee Cross?
Aye.
Trustee Jaycock?
Aye.
Trustee Flores? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot? Trustee Rivers?
Aye.
Mayor Burton?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
President Watkins. Next item is number 2 on the mayor's report, proposal request for a Maywood Fest by Fresh Home Production. This item is found in your packet on page 47. So background, this item came before the board at the last board meeting as a discussion, and staff given the charge to go back and meet with Fresh Home Production, get more information, and also look at our own budget to see where we're at with the project. Make a long story short, at the last board meeting, Mr. Anthony Harris, promoter of Fresh Home Production, presented their proposal to partner with the village of Maywood to have the Maywood Fest. Mr. Harris indicated he anticipated roughly between 500 to 3,000 people may be in attendance of the event. The new proposed date that we have that we discussed was October 11, 2014. Based on the contract, the village would have to pay $10,000 to Fresh Home Production, and the village would be responsible for the following items: chairs, 400 chairs, tables, tents, porta potty bathroom, sinks. Make a long story short, the estimated cost would run roughly about $3,100 just for those items itself. The village also would be responsible for providing additional police security. We will incur additional overtime, which is not budgeted within the event. The village also will be responsible for organizing the vendors to sell food and beverages to the patrons. From my understanding, the Special Events Committee played a major role in the planning and organizing this event in the past, along with the mayor's and the Board of Trustees executive assistants in previous years. The village currently does not have members on the Special Event Commission. The village budget $10,000 for the fest. However, $1,600 was used to fund the old timers picnic, which leaves roughly about $8,400 remaining. Based on the recommendation, this proposal was not budgeted to cover the cost. The village does not have a special events committee or safety or staff to manage and organize this project currently. Considering this event is less than 4 weeks away, I would recommend if the village is interested in working on a plan to have this event for next year with proper planning and budgeting for staff along with the Special Events Commission, so we'll be able to accommodate 3,000 people. So that's my report. Also, the attorney provided a report on page 48, and this report is really asking some of the questions that I've answered within the proposal. I think it's a good proposal, but due to the short period of time with staffing and along with the budget, it's not really in the budget. We didn't budget for it. So that's my report.
Are there any questions?
Mayor,
Trustee Wright?
well, and it may be a moot point, but I did want to point out that October the 11th, which is the proposed date here, is also the date of Maywood Fine Arts major pumpkin patch parade and that large activity. And that happens during the day, but it extends into the afternoon, I believe. But that's kind of a conflict.
Any other questions?
What is on your report? This is under your report. I'll just report it back.
Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the report is our village manager report. On the village manager report, we have an ordinance approving the first amendment to the mutual aid box alarm system, known as MABUS. MABUS stands for Master Agreement for the Village of Maywood Fire Department. Again, MABUS stands for Mutual Aid Box Alarm System. That's found in packet on page 65. We have Fire Chief Bruno here to give any questions regarding it. And also we have Attorney Drewson here that looked at it and reviewed over the agreement. That's found in your packet on page 65. Chief Bruno, if you can give the board an overview of the proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Good evening to the executive panel. I want to sincerely apologize to you. Given the past week, as you know, I've been a little preoccupied. But basically, what I can say about this addendum is, basically, as you know, we help our neighboring towns, and our neighboring towns help us out. The purpose of this agreement is not necessarily to charge our neighbors and our neighbors to charge us. This agreement is to allow us to tap into additional resources in the event the village suffers a catastrophic event from the result of storms, floods, and any situation that will require the use of extensive manpower from not only the fire department, but from fire departments, our neighboring fire departments. That's basically the extent of the agreement.
Madam President? Good evening, Chief.
Good evening.
Just a question. Okay, with the agreement that you have, okay, and I heard it brought up, matter of fact, I heard it brought up 2 or 3 times. Okay, with the extent of your force, if something catastrophically happens to the village of Maywood, with the geographical residencies of your force, okay, what I'm trying to find out is, see, because we may have a difference of catastrophic, okay, and you being able to marshal your force and not having inadequate force in that would lead you to say, hey, I need outside help, and that's what we're talking about here.
Yes, I'll give you an example, and I think of a particular incident, and I'll try to keep it brief because this particular incident was, it hit this town kind of hard, but as you know, last year, we had a situation where the river over here by McDonald's had to be searched. We do not have water rescue equipment, individuals are trained in water rescue, so we depended on outside agencies. As a matter of fact, agencies from different Mavis divisions to come in and help. If that incident would have existed over a period of weeks or lasted even months, those towns would have had the ability to submit paperwork through Mavis to be reimbursed, not necessarily from the village of Maywood, but from federal agencies. And because it would have been, hypothetical, because it would have been an issue or an incident that lasted on several weeks or maybe even months, Maywood would have been able to file for reimbursement as well. So that's basically just the, and I'm sorry I'm not more prepared for it this evening, but this is basically it. In the coming days, I can provide you with more information, even as soon as tomorrow. I can address the Board of Trustees personally by phone call or by whatever means necessary to get you extensive clarity on this agreement. But again, the purpose of this is to allow us to be able to get reimbursement should we have some event that lasts for several weeks or maybe even months.
Okay, let me finish up with this. Maybe I asked that question out of context. Would you get back with me? The question that I'm concerned with, as I said, I've heard it come up before, is the ability for you to marshal your forces, the Village of Maywood Fire Department, in a catastrophic. And I mean, you may not have it now, but I'm just saying, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what, and maybe I didn't understand it in the beginning. If agencies for some reason or another were to come in and assist us, I would still be the incident commander. These are just resources that we'd be allowed to tap into. For example, such as towns from different Mavis divisions. For example, like the situation that occurred last year by McDonald's, where again we had to search the lake to search the river for a few days. I was still the incident commander. Other towns came in and assisted, but there was still a coordinated effort between department chiefs. But again, I was still responsible for the entire incident.
Okay, well, I just want you to drill down a little deeper for me, please.
Oh yeah, I can do that. Sure, yes.
You know what I'm saying? Your capability with your force that you have, because I understand that we're really not doing the residency for you to have the ability, if we have a catastrophic incident in the Village of Maywood, for you to marshal your forces before you enter into Mavis. Okay. That's basically what I'm really trying to say. If you want to get back to.
Okay. Now, well, first is, if I can finally answer the question correctly. First is we do have response cards where we do have an immediate response. Where if even at this point, if we have a large-scale incident, we're prepared for it, whether or not we have our members immediately available or not. We'd like to have our members. We'd like to have many more of our members immediately available, because it would help from a time response aspect. So yes, I think I do understand what you're saying there. Our response is good, but it could be even better if we were able to work towards meeting some objectives.
Thank you, but you will
I'll get back to you. Yes.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Any other questions, Trustee North?
Chief, I just wanted to ask, in this documentation, it indicates executing the first addendum. How many additional addendums are to come?
I really apologize, but again, I can answer that for you tomorrow. I can either email or answer you tomorrow.
Okay.
I can chime in because I'm familiar with this amendment. And the chief really has hit the nail on the head. This is a reimbursement agreement, plain and simple. Mavis is it's primarily Illinois-based, but there are other entities outside of Illinois. It is all of the fire departments and fire protection districts in Illinois, which are thousands of units of local government. This is essentially intergovernmental cooperation, intergovernmental agreement. They don't send the intergovernmental agreement to everybody because it's, thick. What they do is, this is their first addendum. In recent, they first adopted it about 15, 20 years ago. They've kept it in place for that long. There's been some federal guidelines that have come down for under FEMA emergency disaster that allows municipalities and these type of cooperatives to get reimbursed, but you have to have your documents and your protocol in a certain way that matches the federal regulations. This addendum does that. This addendum takes Mavis's intergovernmental agreement and it gets it in sync with what the federal regs require for reimbursement in emergency disaster situations. And, as the chief indicated, it's only for extraordinary, over 8-hour unique circumstances that causes you, either this village to provide extra services to the neighboring village or the neighboring village to provide extra services to us. So it's only in very unique circumstances. There's a provision in here that says if we don't build a neighboring community within 30 days, then it's treated as we gave those services for free and vice versa. And, it's even stated in here, the goal is not for one town to charge the next town. That's not really the purpose. The purpose is if there are federal dollars in play and you do have extenuating circumstances, that the Mavis document has been amended to match the federal regs so Mavis and its members can properly seek reimbursement. And there may be additional amendments, but I can tell you Mavis has been around for, like I said, the early 90s, and this is really the first substantive change to the document. And you won't see the full agreement. They just give basically, this addendum and a signature page, and they're going to ask they're asking you to approve it, and the reality is, it's not negotiable. They're not going to make changes on behalf of us or any other town. I have no objection to the changes, but it's really not negotiable. If you want to continue to participate, you vote for it. If you don't, that's a significant issue. And my recommendation is these changes are certainly easy to digest, and the department can handle these compliance changes. They're not a big deal, and it's really the only way to continue to participate in Mavis, which is a critical functioning intergovernmental cooperative arrangement that gives this town access to many more resources and every other town many more resources than you can standing alone.
Any other questions?
Mayor,
Trustee Rogers?
maybe small, but on page 70, at the signature lines, they refer to a political entity. I don't like that term. I mean, we're a unit of government, not a political entity. So if it's possible to change that, I would prefer that that be the case. But aside from that, then I would move to have this ordinance appear at our next regular board meeting for consideration for approval.
Second.
Been moved in second that we consider to approval to the first amendment to MABAS Masters.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any questions?
Mayor,
Trustee Crawford?
I guess this question is for council. Who drafted this, given that Trustee Rogers is asking about this reference to political entity on page 7?
So page 70 is the red line version showing the changes to one of their section 5s. This is the first addendum drafted by council for Mavis, and it's being provided to you in their form. And I have no objection
Trustee Cross.
My second question, Chief, can you give an example of when you would bill for our services? So I heard you say that if we had a catastrophe and we had other neighboring communities assisting us, they don't bill, but give an example of when we would bill for something?
Well, unfortunately, the south end of town has seen an increase in flooding that we've noticed. We're hoping that this doesn't become an issue, but I guess an example would be if we had to disperse a lot of manpower due to heavy flooding, or the town would be hit by a tornado. I don't think that this will come into question if this were fire related, even if the fire was over a period of days. I think it would be more along the lines of if the town suffered from a natural disaster.
It would have to be catastrophic.
Okay. Thank you.
It's a reimbursement.
Trustee Cross?
What is your, it's it, okay, all right, aye.
Trustee Jaycott?
Aye.
Trustee Jordan? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot?
Aye.
Trustee Ritter?
Aye.
Mayor Perkins? Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Item number 2 on the manager's report, discussion regarding the Maywood engagement letter for William Blair and Company to provide underwriting services for the 2014 and 15 general obligation series of bonds. It's found in your packet on page 72. A little background, attaches an engagement letter from William Blair to perform underwriting services for the 2005 general obligation bond and the issuance of the 2014 and 15 series bonds. Underwriting will work on preparing the structure of the bond for closing, attaches an engagement letter from William Blair and Company, along with services they'll be providing as underwriting. I've also attached a memo dated June 30, 2014 from our finance director, making the board aware of the savings for the refinance of the 2014 bond series. We look for a motion before this matter to the regular board meeting for September 16th for an engagement letter between William Blair and Company to perform underwriting service and refinance the 2005 general obligation bond and the issuance of the 2014-15 bond series. This matter has already been approved as far as the execution of the bonds. We have Mr. Kevin Buchanan, if you can come forward, Mr. Spear, to provide a little background regarding the underwriting procedure.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As you know, the bond, when you sell the bonds, we've already approved me as financial advisor, and Daryl Davidson was here as bond counsel. The other big player in this is the bond purchaser, the underwriter, and that's William Blair. That was talked about in my memo originally, and it was also approved by you in the bond ordinance. This is, but everything has a lot of regulation. This is their letter pursuant to federal rules to tell you exactly what their services are and what they'll do and what they won't do. And basically, they'll buy and resell your bonds for a certain fee. That's 1.5% that's on the front page. The last page is really where they tell you, they're under Rule G17, that's the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board, so this is a G17 letter. They will buy the bonds to redistribute them. In point number Rule 3I, they're not. They don't have a fiduciary responsibility to you. Financial advisors have a fiduciary responsibility to you. They do not. They have an arm's length responsibility to deal with you fairly, but they're not your best friend. They are, you have to know that they're going to buy, because they're going to turn around and resell the bonds to bond purchasers, to buy the bonds, and those people are going to, they can't tell everybody they're getting the best rate. So they have to deal fairly with all sides. They talk about, they told you what the fee is, and then they tell you that there's no other conflicts of interest. So this is it's a very standard letter setting out their duties, their conflicts, and their fee. And then when the sale time comes, our job again, it's an arm's length negotiation, because we're on your side with the fiduciary responsibility, they're on the other side of the table. So I'd be pleased to answer any questions about that.
Are there any questions? Trustee Crop.
I just have one question, and that is, do we have a current rating now?
No, we don't. We reviewed the rating criteria of Moody's, and it came out that because of the financials, your financial situation as related in your audits, that the best rating that would be available would be the triple B or the BAA, which is the lowest investment grade. And we felt that it's better to deal with no rating than to go for the lowest. It sells the same, and based on the categories of what purchasers have, you buy so many A bonds, so many AAA bonds, so many AA bonds, so many BBB bonds, and then there's a category that banks can have of unrated bonds. And it'd be better to be in the unrated, at this point, it would be better the unrated basket of bonds that they could buy than in the BBB basket. So we're going to give the underwriter on that. That's still an open question, but from our analysis, we think it's better if we don't ask for rating.
Okay. Trustee Jacob.
I'd like to make a motion that we move to the full board for approval, a letter of engagement from William Blair and Company to perform the underwriting services for the refinancing of the 2005 GEO bonds and the issuance of the 2014-15 series of bonds.
Been moved in second to forward to the regular board September 16, 2014, engagement letter from William Baird and Company to perform underwriting services for the refinancing of the 2005 GO bonds and the issue of the 2014 and 2015 series of bonds. Are there any questions? Call the roll. Thank you.
Aye.
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 No.
Thank you, Mr. McKenna. Item number 3 on the village manager report is an ordinance authorizing the broker's representation agreement and the disposal of sales of certain surplus village-owned property. Let me repeat that, pardon me. Item number 3 is an ordinance authorizing a broker's representation agreement and the disposal and sale of certain surplus village-owned real estate and approval of the ad properties commercial to the act for the act as a selling agent in regards to the surplus village-owned property. That's found in the packet on page 77. What we have here is the agreement from last year that the board entered in with that property. And they were supposed to be in attendance on what took place, but nevertheless, this is just the agreement that it's up for renewal to between the village of Maywood and ad properties. I just want to kind of focus your attention to page 93 are the list of village-owned properties. And what our business coordinator done, she has added in the new property that we discussed on page 95, the 101 in St. Charles, pardon me, page 95. She added in there the 101 St. Charles, that's St. Charles and 9th, correct? 10,001, along with the First Avenue properties, 221 North First, and also 224 North First Avenue. Page number 95.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And item number 44 on there, it says 10,001. 1001 St. Charles.
Oh, okay.
That's St. Charles and 9th.
Oh, okay.
I have a question. Do we have to bypass this since ad property is not here?
Pardon me?
Did you mention something about ad properties not being here?
Yeah, they're supposed to be in the
So do we need to table this until they're here for some discussion, or what?
Mayor.
Mr. Myers was shaking his head there.
It's up to the board. If we want to table it to the regular board meeting, have them present, we can do so.
No, she was asking a question, do we need to?
Mayor.
Trustee Rogers.
I mean, whether you take it or not, I think we've had some, a few points. I need to know, what have they been successful at? What has moved, what has sold, what warrants a raise or promotion? I really need some substance behind why it is this agency would be given this much of our portfolio. I personally am of the opinion of having some competition, and then we can actually see who's actually doing something. But if you essentially have a monopoly, managing a portfolio, I don't know what you benchmark that against, unless you benchmark that against a lot of success, of which I've got no reports that lead me to believe there's much success at all. And in fact, one of the duties, and I don't know why this hasn't, page 85, number 3, says the broker shall keep the village, which is the village board and village manager, informed on a monthly basis with monthly written reports and or live presentations as requested by the village in regard to the interest in the parcels, and shall provide the identity of each prospective purchaser or the purchaser's agent. I have not been getting those reports, and I take it that the rest of the board has not either. Can't tell you why. Somebody needs to know and explain that. But that is essential, because in the absence of that, I don't see what warrants either an extension and certainly additional properties to be managed. So again, I'm of the opinion is, can we entertain some competition within this portfolio? So whether you're here or not, I'd be voicing that particular opinion. And I don't like hurting anybody's feelings, but the truth of the matter is, it's not about feelings. We do need to have some progress, and I've not seen any. I had this agency tell me that there was a sign at St. Charles and 9th and 10th. There is no sign at St. Charles and 9th and 10th. There should be a sign there. There should be marketing features. I was told that, well, they kind of look online and they kind of know what's happening. Well then, why do you have signs in the other places? I mean, it's inconsistent. I want results. I don't want excuses. And so that's an excuse to me. And I need somebody to tell me what the results are. Otherwise, I will not be voting in favor of this entity having a larger portfolio.
Trustee Jacob.
Question, two things. First, going back to our packet, page 76 actually belongs as part of the last item that we were talking about, item number 2. Because page 77 is the clerk's certificate. There's no cover letter for this particular portion of the packet. That's one thing. But with us having these discussions about our displeasures with at properties, have we looked at anybody else, or should we consider looking at somebody else? Because as we continue to say this has been ongoing for a couple of months. As Trustee Rogers stated, there's been no reports, there's been no response. They either show up or they don't show up, like they don't really give a continent on whether they address the issues to us. So why should we be throwing our business to them if this is the way that they approach us? So, I mean, can we look at somebody else and, I mean, you know, even consider that, because we're getting nowhere. We're going week after week after week with the same issue and the same problems. And I think that we need to let them know, again, in writing, how displeased we are with their performance. So it's not just a matter of he said, she said. And that we are at the position of looking elsewhere for somebody to market our properties.
Mayor?
Trustee Rogers.
again, I mean, I am not opposed to them having a portion of the portfolio. I think it is very advantageous, unless someone wants to tell me otherwise, of having the competition. And basically, that's what moves you in any business, having competition. Complacency, it doesn't really work. I think it's a really bad idea to have a monopoly. And so if you've got 2 or 3 of these agencies that do this, we'll be able to see who does the best. And they should be then rewarded with a greater portfolio. But we need this stuff to move, so thank you.
And Trustee Dawes. I move to table the ordinance authorizing a broker's representation agreement and the disposal and sale of certain surplus goods in real estate, and the approval of that property's commercial to act as seller's agent in regard to the sale of the surplus village-owned real estate to our next Tuesday's board meeting on September 16th. For further discussion.
Second. Is it inappropriate to have comments or motion to table?
Motion to table, there's no discussion.
Was there a second?
Yes.
Yes, and then second.
Yes, it was. Let's say
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Didn't hear it.
Second.
second.
Okay, it's been moved in second that we table this approval of the real estate and the ad properties commercial to act as sale agent in regard to the sale of the surplus village-owned real estate. Call the roll.
Trustee Jacob? I'm sorry, Trustee Crum?
Here.
Trustee Jacob?
Aye.
Trustee Jordan? Aye. Trustee Wright?
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot?
Aye.
Trustee Rivers?
Aye.
Mayor Burton?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mayor, since this is an LLOC, I believe there's opportunity for kind of a follow-up on that, since this is actually a committee meeting. I would be interested in entertaining direction from this board to staff to look into some other people. I mean, because if we table it, and it just goes and we get the same thing back later, I'm gonna feel the same way. So I really would like for staff to explore, or again, tell us why it makes no sense to explore some competition. So in the absence of that, I would move that staff be directed to explore possibilities of, if we don't need a motion, then that is, we can consider that a consensus directive to staff.
And if staff's clear in the direction, you can just, everybody agree that's what you want staff to do, and staff will deliver the report when it's correct.
Thank you. I would.
All clear, thank you. Next item on the manager's report is item number 4. Recommendation for award of a contract to Trigg Construction for the Washington Boulevard project from 2nd to 6th Avenue for discussion. This is a CDBG project. We have Mark Lucas here to give an overview. Page 97. Your packet.
Good evening, members of the board.
Good evening. Good evening.
We opened up bids for the Washington Boulevard improvement project, which consisted of looking at 2 types of bids for the improvements of that road. The major difference between those 2 types is the type 1 bid. We were seeking to see if we could complete the work from 1st Avenue all the way through 6th Avenue. And the type 2 bid reflected only what was originally covered within the grant application, which was 2nd Avenue, or the grants received rather, from 2nd Avenue to 6th Avenue. The difference was that when we applied for the grant, we originally applied all the way to 1st Avenue. We did not receive the full amount of the grant, which was $400,000. We only received $265,000. We opened the bids. We had 7 bidders pick up the proposal packets, and 5 submitted a proposal for each of the type bids. Trigger Construction Incorporated submitted the low bid under both types of bids. We reviewed those bid results with the village manager, as both of those come slightly above the budgeted amount that was originally included in this year's budget. An adjustment could be made, based on that discussion, to complete the work under the type 2 bid, but the additional $100,000 to complete the work under the type 1 bid would be hard to find within the budget because it could not come out of the TIP and it wasn't grant eligible. So you're looking at strictly the general fund coming up with an additional $100,000 to complete that work. At least in the review of the budget that we did with the manager, you know, instead of coming up with $145,000, we could come up with $45,000 looking at inside the budget numbers that were available. So the recommendation in front of you is to make an award to Trigger Construction to complete the work between 2nd and 6th Avenue for $733,802.10.
Are there any questions? Mr. Lucas? Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Charles.
Yes, Mark, question I have, we've used Trigger Construction before.
Yes, recently you had them on the 2013 water main project on 19th Avenue and on Main Street. Those were the two projects that you completed last fall and the spring of this year.
Okay. Work satisfactory?
Their work has been satisfactory. They just recently completed their punch list from last year. And as a matter of fact, I think at next Wednesday's meeting, we'll have the final payout on both those projects for the board to consider.
Thank you.
Mr. Lucas?
Yes.
Who was the person that did 17th Avenue and the 100 block?
17th Avenue.
And the 100 block?
I don't know 17th Avenue and the 100 block off the top of my head. I would have to look to see who did 17th Avenue.
I appreciate that.
I will look into
The way I remember it, I thought it was tricky. But
I don't recall.
yeah, but it was the 100 block on 17th, which was very poor work.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that we're not getting that same caliber of work. I appreciate it if you would find out, because I wanted to ask you that. Because they did very poor work, and that was the 100 block on 17th. We had to redo the curbs, and we had the young man that used to work for the village of Maywood, they messed up his driveway. We had to refix that, and that was it.
I will check into that. I don't recall off the top of my head.
Thank you.
This project does require the use of some Madison TIF funds. I will get with Mark if this gets approved to identify those. Sounds like they've been programmed in the overall budget, but you know, since we're spending TIF dollars, you should pass a little short form TIF ordinance that authorizes the expenditure of the TIF funds for this particular project. It's a template you've seen from me. Maybe we get it done tomorrow. I'll get it in the packet. If not, it'll just come at a future board meeting to authorize the expenditure of the TIF funds for this project. It would not stop you from moving it forward to next week and approving it. We just need to have the ordinance done and in place at some point before the project starts. When will this project start? Well, the goal would be to start it shortly thereafter the award of the project as we are moving towards the end of the construction. I'll work with Mark tomorrow, get the TIF component, and I'll put it in the short form ordinance and get it to the manager tomorrow. This gets approved next Tuesday, and I'll make sure it's, if it gets approved tonight, I'll make sure the TIF ordinance is on the agenda to complement this approval, so you can approve everything next Tuesday in one shot.
Trustee Dorr.
Does this, project include, the sewers?
It addresses the drainage structures that are out there on 9th Avenue, specifically addresses the drainage structures out there. And it's up through the 6th Avenue intersection. Going forward from 6th Avenue to 9th Avenue, the village has an award from Cook County for $400,000 in grant funds to do that. And that was based on the application that you put in this February. So that will address Washington Boulevard from 6th Avenue through the 9th Avenue intersection. So as a separate piece.
Mr. Lewis, just for clarification, Mr. Jeruzik said he would try to identify, TIF money. And
No, you already budgeted $400,000 out of the Madison TIF towards this project. I think what he was identifying is he wants a specific ordinance allocating those funds for this specific project.
okay, does that, which project does that include?
That's
Number one or number two? Because we,
Washington Boulevard from 2nd Avenue
From Second.
through 6th Avenue.
so we're not talking about First, so.
No,
Okay.
that's outside of the TIF, so. And
On
then
First
we have-
Avenue, I mean, that strip is outside the TIF?
Yes.
Okay.
The TIF ends at 4th Avenue. So we're using grant funds, we're doing the work with TIF funds and grant funds between 6th and 4th, and the rest of the area from 4th to 2nd is being covered by the remainder of the grant funds and the village general funds that they had committed towards that project.
Okay, just the final, the 6th to 9th, now, does that entail, am I right, 6th through 9th? Does that entail the curbs, gutters, and the street resurfacing?
Yes, and that's, for the scope on both of those projects, it's all new curb, new drainage structures, resurfacing the road, patching the existing base that's underneath the road. So, similar to the improvements that you did on, Fifth Avenue, up and down Fifth Avenue, all the way from Roosevelt Road up to Lake Street, similar type of improvements.
Okay, so we're actually looking at the whole package, we're looking for 2nd to 9th.
2nd to 6th this year, your 6th to
Oh,
9th
okay.
will be a next year's project once you approve your subrecipient.
Oh, okay,
and all that.
okay, that's 2 separate, right, okay, gotcha now. Thank you.
Trustee Dewey?
First Avenue is a county street, right?
First Avenue is a state road.
State road, okay, and is there funding for municipal streets that lead into state roads that would cover that first block?
It's a complicated issue. There are federal, state funds available for doing all of Washington Boulevard. It's an 80-20 match. We've just had difficulty historically from the village to come up with the matching funds to do the whole scope of the project. It's a big scale project. What we're trying to do is leverage our CDBG area to try to take bite-sized chunks out of this, because that Washington Boulevard's been on the North Central Council of Mayors. That's where you get your funds through for over 10, 15 years, but we have never been able to budget, find those funds to do it, because it is a very limited area. You don't have TIF funds. St. Charles Road, you completed under that program. Your 20% came out of the St. Charles TIF, and you got 80% of the funds through the feds to do that. So you kind of leveraged that TIF and made a bigger project. We don't have that ability because the Madison TIF is really only covering from 6th to 4th through that strip, so it's not a significant length of that project.
Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I just have to make this statement, because it pains me to know that we're finally working on Washington Boulevard. And the worst part of Washington is right there from 1st to 2nd, just as you get there to the light. I mean, it's terrible. And you said that there's a 2080 matching funds kind of thing?
They're not gonna do it block by block. They look at it through like complete stretches. You have to connect from First Avenue through to 9th Avenue under that 80-20 match, or actually we've always looked at it from First Avenue, because Washington is not in good shape all the way through the whole village.
And I guess it kills me to know that First Avenue is our last north-south street, and not to be able to do one block, it just kills me to no end. I just have to say it just to get it out of my system, because it pains me. Okay?
That's more of availability of funds.
I know of funds.
That's.
I feel better now that I said it, because I'm wondering about that all the time.
Mayor,
Trustee Wright?
I then would make a motion that this issue with the Lower responsible bidder, coupled with the authorizing the attorney to prepare the ordinance documents, be on the next regular board meeting agenda.
Then moved in second that we award to the lowest bidder and with the attorney finishing out the proper paperwork for the TIF to be moved to the next board meeting. Are there any questions? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Cross?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobs?
Aye.
Trustee Dorr? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Lifer?
Step away.
Trustee Rivers?
Aye.
Mayor Burton?
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mark. Next item on the manager's report is the consideration of approval of a Class 8 tax incentive for 600 Lake Street. Found in your packet on page 101. Let Angela give a brief overview.
Good evening. Before you, you have an application submitted to Cook County Assessor's Office along with Cook County Economic Development and Planning Department. The application was submitted by Mr. Munoz of 600 Lake Street. As you can see in the cover memo, Mr. Munoz was a result of the grade separation of 25th Avenue. As a result of that project, which is a great project that is actually going to help our community as well, he had to find a new location for his business. That business, he relocated that business to the village of Maywood. He has submitted application to Cook County in order to ask for a Class 8 that would give him a tax reduction of his taxes, reducing his commercial assessment from 25% in the first 10 years to an actual 10% over the first 10 years, and then renewable in year 10 for another 12 years.
Mayor,
Trustee Rogers.
I think it's important, and I'll ask if Angela could elaborate on, the features of Class 8 is not simply, unless I stand corrected, not simply being based on the reduction of taxes, but more trying to get to fairness.
Right, exactly. Yeah, one of the reasons that Mr. Munoz is asking for this tax reduction and to take advantage of this tax incentive is because there's a huge disparity between the taxes in Merrill's Park and in the village of Maywood. So this would offer some relief to him in order to operate his business here, opposed to operating it in Merrill's Park. He'll be able to actually afford to operate his business here, instead of finding another municipality with a lower tax rate, such as North Lake, Merrill's Park, Bellwood, pretty much all of our surrounding communities, even Oak Park.
Mayor, additionally, I have been noticing, it appears that this, and the gentlemen were here a little earlier, but they seem to have left. They do appear to be willing to invest, unless I'm mistaken, they put a new concrete lot, basically almost their entire frontage for a tire place. And we all know that tires are not very attractive businesses, but they seem to be doing the best effort that they can to make themselves look presentable and function presentable. So I do appreciate them making the investment to put in that new concrete lot, because asphalt can quickly deteriorate and look bad, and not many tire companies do what they have done.
And the other thing about this particular property is, there had been tanks in this property that they have also had to expend funds, just to be able to, get their certificate of occupancy. The state fire marshal, along with our fire department, came in and found that there were tanks. So they have also, had a huge expense of actually removing those tanks and making sure that, that they clean the, where the tanks were and things of that sort. So they have, really invested already in our town, and, staff will make a recommendation that you accept, and that you give resolution for, their Class 8 incentive in order to become and sustain, them in the village of Maywood for years to come.
Mayor,
Trustee Rogers?
I then would recommend that we move the application for Class A tax incentives for this business to the regular board meeting for consideration.
It's been moved in second. Resolution for approval to the September 16, 2014 Board of Trustees agenda for the Class A tax incentive. Any questions? Trustee Jacob?
I don't have questions, I have one comment. No, it's not really about that. Page 111 in our packet is a bad page. This is I, Gary Walk, corporate village of Maywood, it's all for Danny's Roofing, and it's not part of DF Tire Shop.
What page again, trustee, I'm sorry?
Page 111.
Oh, right, yeah, so what will happen is, the ordinance will go to Attorney Jerusik or, Michael Mars, and they'll work through it and make sure that all of our certifications and things like that are.
Well, this is just for the record, this is the wrong piece of paper for this particular item. That's all.
We'll take a look at it, we'll make sure that, I'll work with Angela to get this copy, and we'll make sure that's correct, and the version that gets back next week.
Okay.
Mayor,
Trustee Rogers?
one other question I have, and that is in continuation of that. On page 110, it says page 1, but then, the clerk's certificate is page 3. So is there a page missing between these, or?
There's a page, 2, it's the regular, language that now therefore.
No,
Not in our.
not in ours.
Oh,
So page 2 is missing also.
Yeah, the ordinance, this is the actual resolution, so, before this leaves the village, it has to be tagged by the attorney and reviewed, it'll be reviewed and everything will be brought into compliance. But Jerusik, it's that page with the sections on it.
Oh, yeah, no,
Not a
yeah.
problem. Trustee Cross will make sure page 2 is included.
Once you did good direction to approve it, I will work with you to
Yeah.
get the document, ready to be approved next week.
Trustee Cross?
Abstain.
Trustee Jacob?
Aye.
Trustee Stewart? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot?
Aye.
Trustee Rivers?
Aye.
Mayor Perkins?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Angela. Next item on the village manager report is discussion regarding salt to prepare for the upcoming winter. Mr. West has been actively trying to jump ahead to make sure that we're prepared. West, could you please come forward for this upcoming winter? various avenues to restock our salt, and he has a proposal that's based on some research he's done. Thank you, John.
Mayor, board, fellow residents, I submitted a letter to the manager informing me that the state bid price for this upcoming year is at $134 per ton, which is up from our price last year, $53 per ton. That was due to last year, the severity of the winter last year. I sold myself along with Public Works Director, Broadview, Maywood, Westchester, and we are seeking our other colleagues in the other Providence Township areas to find out if they want to participate. Before you, I just handed you a proposal from Chemical Equipment Labs in Pennsylvania, which is submitting a bid of $115 per ton, and that is for a barge or a shipment, depending on what day you get it. If we get it early, they'll ship it to us. We have already had a discussion with them, telling them we want it toward the early part or mid part of November, which would place it on a barge. As you can see, it includes the shipping and the trucking into the facility. So this will come off the barge and be trucked into us. This is only one quote that we've obtained. If the board were to authorize me to work with my fellow municipality leaders to deal with this company, then we would put together a contract to bring forth back before the board, along with Attorney Jerusalem, for amendment to make sure that it meets the qualifications that the village would want to see. Included, which I did not hand out to you, with the quote that was sent to us, was also a chemical specification, because we want to make sure that the salt meets the needs that we have, that it's not too big, it won't destroy our spreaders, and do any damage to it. Generally, this is something that's done for the state bid price. Once you accept it and you participate in that program, then you really don't have to make sure that you have those particular specifications met from the state. This number that is being presented by the state is, I didn't think that it would be something that we could absorb. So we went actively about trying to find something that would be a little bit more palatable at the time. In addition, I sent forth another quote that we got from a different group in the packets that you have. That quote came up to $120 per ton. It's actually $110 for the material, with an additional $10 per ton for shipping into the time, which is $120. I also have had a one-on-one conversation with Morton Salt to see if we can secure an individual bid with them, which is something we did last year, and gaining our $53 per ton. What I'm coming before you tonight with it and passing out to you is to try to get your consent for me to continue, along with our fellow, our neighboring towns, to solicit and probably potentially purchase this particular salt at under $15 a ton. We're not going to get, the reality of the matter is we're not going to get too far below $100 a ton, no one this year. That the salt companies really don't have it, and they're kind of taking advantage of the fact that the previous winter and the impending winter are going to be harsh. So now I'll stop and take any questions that you might have on the issue.
Trustee Crawford.
Just was a couple of questions. One, how many of the neighboring communities are you attempting to work with?
Well, we've already, Broadview, Maywood, Westchester, Maywood, we've already had and agreed to participate. I spoke with Forrest, he has declined to participate. He's willing to continue forward with the state bid price.
DOS, which I expect I will hear from tomorrow. Contact with Berkeley, I expect to hear back from them as well. I know that the director of Westchester is contacting Oak Park to see if they want to participate. I'll also reach out to Melrose, but that would be something that I would do later.
Okay, my other question is, so with you ordering this, if all of the neighboring communities submit a proposal to this company, is that going to possibly decrease the dollar amount that we're paying, or is that their final? I mean, because if you're doing it in numbers, in large quantity, even though it'll be dispersed to the various communities, you aren't able to make a better.
At this time, the number that's set forth is the final number. It's possible that we could probably negotiate down a bit, but I don't think it would be very much. At minimum, I don't think you'd see the number go below 100.
100 is a whole lot better than 115.
Just to be honest, yeah, I don't think that the number will move, but if there's a chance.
Okay, all right.
Trustee Dorr?
Are we going to receive 22,000 tons, or is this spread among?
That is a number that's we're trying to spread amongst the different communities. There is no way we could absorb 22,000 tons. We can't store any more than approximately 3,500.
Okay, and then that amount got us through last year where we didn't run out of salt and other people did?
Yeah, because the previous winters prior to last year were not as harsh, we were able to stock up a little bit. So we had nearly 2,200 tons inside of our salt dome. If we stack the salt very concisely, we can fill that dome up pretty heavy again, approximately about 33,000 tons. Then you have the old salt dome that we use. It's over Second and Wilcox. We currently dump trash over it, but that can be cleaned up. We can have a cover put over the top of our makeshift railings, and then you have storage capacity for an additional 1,500 tons, probably a little bit more than that. So we could actually store a lot of tonnage. The 22,000 tons again is a barge. A barge is not going to come with just 3,000 tons. It's a waste of space and transportation costs. So you're going to send over a huge amount. Whether the neighboring communities join us in purchasing this, it's beyond the ones that I've indicated have already approved to do it. The salt is not going to be long sitting out there. Someone will buy it relatively quick from the company. But we're just trying to talk to our neighboring provider township groups to come up with maybe a collaborative between us. We can sort of share the salt, make sure, because Maywood was in a position last year to help other communities with salt. We don't mind being in that position again, however, we do want to make sure that our residents are taken care of first.
Any other questions?
Mayor, just informational. What does Chicago do? I mean, I know we're not close to their scale, but where do they get theirs from, and what kind of prices do they get?
Chicago participates with the state bid price. In many cases, in several cases, they've also had one-to-one relationships with the different salt vendors, whether it be Morton, North American Salt, or Cargill. The one-to-one relationships can yield a little better pricing, as was evident last year for us, where we got $53 a ton, and the state bid price, I think last year was somewhere around 60, 65. So we were able to get a smaller price. At this time, Morton has not given us back a price. Possible that they may, possible that they may not. North American Salt has told us right up front that since we didn't buy anything from them last year, they would give us a price on anything this year. Cargill, again, is a pending vendor. So I'm looking at other options as well, but this is salt that we know we can
from our $117,000 that we're supposed to receive
No, ma'am, we have not.
from salt? Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions?
Mayor,
Trustee Crawford?
where's this $117,000 coming from?
It was given to quite a few of the communities from the state, correct, Mr. Myers?
Yes, ma'am, I do not have the exact entity, but yet it's from the state.
Yeah, and they gave it to, I heard it on the radio that they were giving, the various communities a certain amount, and I heard that the village of Maywood was gonna get $117,000. And we're waiting on that. We are going to get it, but we are waiting on that amount of money. And Chicago got more naturally, and some of the other suburbs got more. But the village of Maywood will get $117,000 for the salt that we paid for last year.
I mean, we paid over the amount of money we were supposed to pay, and the money that is due back to us from what we paid is $117,000?
No, it wasn't a matter of what you paid over, it's just a matter that the state agreed to give some of the communities X amount of dollars. Each community got a different amount, and the village of Maywood got $117,000, which we're waiting on from the state.
Mayor, let me just add, may I just add clarity, when Mark come up, we have him elaborate on it, because I know we do get reimbursed through the motor fuel tax, correct?
Yes, that $117,000 is the commitment the state made to a program to fund an additional MFT payment. Each year is for 5 years. I think this is the 5th year of that installment that's coming in. This year is $117,000, as the mayor said. It'll come through the MFT process into the village's funds. So, and it's based on your proportion of residents.
Yeah.
Thank you. So you want to make a motion or?
This is just for a matter of discussion, right?
No, but that's what I'm asking, is you want a motion, Mr. Myers?
No.
Well, it is a matter of discussion, but also needs a consensus from empower me to move forward. If this is the best price that we can get to be able to enter into to set up a contract that I'll have to bring back to the board for your approval, for me to move forward.
Okay, real quick. But also in addition to that, you were gonna continue to look into this as well, but right as it stands right now tonight, this is the best deal that we have going.
So,
Okay, got it.
Trustee Crawford?
Okay, so you're asking direction from us as to being able to negotiate with the other neighboring communities. That's one question, right?
Yes,
And then the second one is to try to find the best price for the salt for the coming season, correct?
yes, pretty much, to be able to enter into, if this is the best that we can get to, be able to enter into agreement with a combination with our fellow municipalities, bring back the contract to the board to set up for its approval, then to sign off on the contract, because as the memo states, the salt will go. And we kind of drag on it, it's gonna disappear if we get caught without any salt. So I don't want to get roasted.
Did I hear you say that we paid last year $53 a ton?
I did.
Okay, and so, and that was through Morton?
That was more than salt.
Okay, because that's a big, that's a,
Yeah, as I said, it's, the salt companies are in business to make money, and,
I understand that.
because of the harsh winter of last year and the impending harshness of the coming winter, they have boosted their prices.
That's a $62 difference. So, I mean, my only question is, if you're still pursuing the best deal and you're waiting for Morton and you said something about North America.
North America's they're not going to give us any.
They're not giving up, they aren't selling us salt, is that?
They're not going to sell us any.
what's the reason why?
We didn't buy it from last year.
Oh, okay. Okay, and then the other one you said,
Cargill.
Cargill?
Cargill.
Okay, and what's the issue with them?
Just pending a quote. We reached out to them to ask for a quote, haven't seen anything back yet.
Okay,
What you have in front of you is something that's available right now and has a quote attached to it.
well, but if time is of the essence, and this is a timely matter, and they haven't called us, is there a problem with us calling them back?
Cargill?
All of them?
There is no problem. We called them Wednesday. Just did not receive it. Gave us the same answer as last week, which is we still working on it. We'll get back to you.
Okay, I'd hate to pay $62 more than we have to. I think that we just need to be very aggressive in staying on them to help them along in making that decision. You know, either they're gonna sell us or they're not. You know, so some kind of language going back to them, in an email, in a letter, or something saying, listen, we need to wrap this up and get our order in. And, so are you guys open for business? Are you doing business or what?
I understand. I would only say that we're requesting a bid from them. They don't actually have to give us one.
Well, I understand they don't have to, but I'm just asking,
I understand.
can we be a little bit more aggressive in trying to reach the powers that be that make the decisions?
I will be as aggressive as I can.
Okay.
Mayor, with an understanding that salt is kind of a commodity like oil, and it really may fluctuate based on seasonal and demands, I would move that we move this issue to the full board for consideration, and then in the interim, if the director can continue to pursue the other agencies that might be able to do, but that because time is of the essence, that we prepare not to exceed at 115 per ton, and maybe by next Tuesday, if there's new information that leads you to believe in your professional opinion that we might be able to do better, then at that time we can pivot. So that is in the form of a motion to move this issue to the full board at not to exceed 115 per ton.
I concur with trustee Rogers and will second his motion.
They moved in second, move to the full board, not to exceed $115 per ton. Are there any questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Cross?
Aye.
Trustee Jacob?
Aye.
Trustee Ford? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot?
Aye.
Trustee Rivers?
Aye.
Mayor Burton?
Aye.
Right, thank you, John, for your presentation and research. Next on the agenda, we have village attorney's report, no report.
No report tonight.
Next item, we have other matters. At this time, I want to use other matters to introduce a new staff person. Carl, could you stand up, please? This is Carl Palmquist. Carl is our new village planner and zoning officer. He's going to be taking care of the day-to-day operation with zoning. He's also, from a planning perspective, working on special projects in regards to different things that we've talked about, the recycle program, sustainability, looking at different various avenues. I'd just like everyone to welcome Mr. Carl Palmquist, if you could, give him a hand.
Sir, we do have a receiving line. I would like to shake your hand. Just so you know, if you come through here, we like to shake your hand. Welcome.
No, you always start with the big first, I'll go with that.
Say what?
Yeah, finish it. Oh, they said he's finishing with the best.
It's a Maywood thing.
Thank you, Carl. Carl comes with us with a master's in the degree of community regional planning. He also has a bachelor's in arts and history and political science. Also has served in Will County as a planner. Councilman Clark.
Other item on the Madam Mayor, if I may continue, I got a couple more items, if you don't mind. I would like Mr. Lucas to come forth to talk about some measures of flooding, what we're looking at. You know, Ms. Vandenberg, she stepped out, but it's been an ongoing issue with flooding and just some methods that are out there that Ms. Lucas can highlight on.
Good evening, once again. This part, I'm going to address the flooding that's been occurring. Since 2010, we've had a good number of storms that have exceeded the capacity of our storm sewer system. The capacity of our storm sewer system, I think irregardless of some of these big events that we've had, as to its maintenance and condition, probably would have been exceeded. We would still have seen the flooding. Some of the issues that we've seen in the over this past year as we've done some repairs are our infrastructure is getting old. And we are looking at ways to look at it and maybe do a little bit more maintenance on it. Back in the early 2000s, we had a annual program where we were trying to tunnelize and clean approximately 20% of our sewers. For various reasons, that program fell off. I think John West and I have talked about it, and we talked briefly with the manager and the mayor. That's one of the things I think we need to get back to is cleaning out some of our sewer system. We just recently had a collapse on 9th Avenue, 42 sewer, that basically is serves west of 9th Avenue, south of Maywood Drive, all the way to all the way down to Fillmore. That whole area drains through that 42-inch sewer. It was collapsed, it was repaired on Saturday, but there's some condition issues that we want to take a closer look inside of that. We've looked at some other sewer issues as we popped open manholes to see if we have a water flow issue where we can see the water is higher at one manhole than the next manhole down the lane. Try to figure out, do we have a blockage or a partial obstruction in the pipe? Other things that we have looked at and we've talked about in the past is some of the flooding we have a lot of water coming into our system. The village has on the books a disconnection of downspouts is required. It was supposed to be completed by a set date. I think in 2010 and 2011, when we had those big storms that we had in a large flooded area, I think we increased the compliance in that. And just driving through the neighborhood, you can see more people have disconnected their downspouts. We're still not at that point, so that's maybe getting out and trying to take a look at it, informing the public of disconnecting those downspouts and having them discharge out onto the grass. Yes, we'll see some additional flooding on the streets, but it delays the amount of time it takes to get into our sewer. When our sewer's back up, it's going to go into our basements first. So we have looked at larger scale projects, and some of them are rehashing the same things. In the 80s, there was significant flooding. The village received some funding and installed some relief sewers. Those were primarily focused north of Madison Street because I believe that was the area that was affected at that time. There was a relief sewer constructed, a major leg of the relief sewer was constructed for the south area, but it doesn't have an outlet to the Des Plaines River. It outlets into Deep Tunnel. Well, when the Deep Tunnel fills, it's closed off, and until they build a reservoir, it will not be available until 2023. We won't have the full capacity of the Deep Tunnel to our advantage. We've looked at the area that's primarily affected, again, by not having a relief sewer is the area south of Madison Street, west of 9th Avenue, to the expressway, and then everything south of the expressway. It doesn't really have a relief sewer system. It's the old original sewer system that was installed. Capacity in that system at the time, standards were different. Infrastructure was different. We had a lot less impervious areas. We had a lot less rainfall going into those systems. We did have, in that 80s program, the effort to restrict the flow going into it from the streets, because our sewers take both our street and our sanitary waste. There were restrictors put in. I think in time, we need to go back and evaluate, are all those restrictors in place? these are some of the lower hanging fruit that we can do behind the big scale projects. In 2011, we did a brief study to provide a relief sewer to that area. Looked at maybe a detention facility being constructed, but we're talking on the area of, about $15 to $18 million for that scope of the project. We applied for grants at the time. We did not receive any grants. It's a very large scale project. We have continued to submit that through, but there are other steps that can be taken. Some surrounding communities, the village of Brookfield just recently put out a check valve, a backflow prevention system, in which it's on the residential service. And what the village does is they participate in the cost of installing it. It's a great program, actually, in that it provides, stops the water from backing into the basement. It's a more direct cost, and it's actually, if you look at it per cost of home, it's a lot less than the big scale project that only a village could find out. But, for a $4 million project, these check valves go in the simple check valves are about $4,000 to install per service. Some villages participate 50% of the cost. Some villages participate, at a very variable level. That's really a policy decision by the village, but it's making those funds available. I'm familiar with one in the village of Brookfield. I'm a resident in Brookfield. We're also their engineers. We didn't formulate the program, but I'm familiar with what it does. And there is a 50% reimbursement of the cost. They limit the amount that they'll participate in because they don't restrict you simply to those check valves. You can put in overhead plumbing underneath, convert your home to overhead plumbing underneath that, but they do limit it. It's more like what your street facade out of your TIF looks like. It's up to a certain dollar limit. You do the work, and you get reimbursed for that cost. You can decide the limit as to what you want to do, but to kind of put it in context, if you had, and what they do is they plan a certain amount of money each year, $200,000 or $100,000 towards that program. As soon as those funds are committed, you're put on the list for the next year's program. Based on the flooding they saw in the articles that were recently written, they've actually added a lot more money to that fund because they have some funds left in their sewer program or their sewer budget, and they wanted to increase it to try to get more people's flooding addressed. Because the flooding that you're seeing, it's a regional issue. It's not a Maywood problem. It's not just a Cook County problem. It's all systems. As soon as we put water into a pipe, it's at a rate of flow that it can take. And if it rains heavier than that rate's going to take it, the water's going to go somewhere. In our community, it backs up into our basements because our same sewer that takes away our storm sewer takes away our sanitary sewer, and that's where it backs up. I think the village looking at some kind of a program to assist or implement a backflow system for the services is probably the most cost-effective way of addressing the sewer backup problem. Once we address we get a large area addressed with sewer backup, we'll have that water on the street because that water still won't be able to go through the system. But it's preferred to have that water on the street. If you take the poll, I think everyone would say, water in the street or water in my basement, I'd rather see my street blocked for 3 hours with water on the street instead of having to deal with water in my basement. We've looked at other things to do with what we've had so far. Are there programs out there to help residents clean up the flooding that we've seen? We're well aware of all the programs that are available. A lot of them will provide you kits. You provide the labor. I don't know if there's programs that again, similar to the backflow or maybe similar to your snow removal, that when you do have residents, maybe seniors that aren't able to clean up their basement, is there a way to at least get them assistance in cleaning out those type of basements? More of a program that you have to consider when we're putting together these budgets. I don't think there's going to be a lot of funding for that from the state or other entities for that. They're more focused in on your big improvement projects. As far as maintaining our system or making some system improvements where we find there's some deficiency in conveyance, there is always the state revolving fund program through the IEPA where you we borrow money. The last one we did was on our water, where we had a 0% interest. Right, it's approximately, right now, that loan is a 20-year loan, but that loan is, I think the interest rate is about 2% that they charge, which is better than most bond funds that you'll find. You have to do a report. It's not very in-depth, identifying why you selected the improvement you're doing and the amount of funds. Right now, there is a lot of funds available in that program. They added a lot of funds specifically to address water and sewer projects. It is a loan though, so you are paying it back. So it's, do we have the funds to pay? Do we have the resources to pay back those funds? We do have them committed for our water fund. We pay about $50,000 back a year for the next, I think we got 17 more years of loan payment on that. But that's another way that you can fund some of these maybe larger scale projects that are out there. And we'll continue to look at grant projects for some of these larger scale projects to see what's available. I mean, they roll out typically when you have a massive flood and the federal government awards money. It's usually 2 to 3 years before you actually see the funds coming back to where a program's been established at the village. In the 2008 Ike grant that we received, that was related to not the flooding we had in 2010. That was from Hurricane Ike from 2008. So it took 2 years for us to get funds. We had CDBG funds, and I think we did sewer work on 21st, 20th, 18th, and 17th, where we took some of our existing relief sewer system and expanded it to take some more of the street drainage off that system, kind of helping that area between Madison Street and Washington address some of the flooding they see. Those are kind of things that I think you can continue to look for, those opportunities for grants that maybe we can expand on our system, and eventually get to a point where you have areas that are truly just a storm sewer and disconnect stop making them a relief sewer. You can disconnect it and make it a storm sewer and a sanitary system. But it's a multi-prong attack that has to kind of be looked at. You know, we can address them. Some will require funding, and you have to decide what kind of funding you want to commit to those type of projects. Certainly maintenance, backflow prevention. Those are direct things that really will have a significant impact to the village. As we do the maintenance, we're going to televise the sewer. If you televise the sewer, you're going to find out the condition of your infrastructure, but that may lead you to the point where you say, okay, this section of pipe I have to replace. And there are sections that you will have to replace as you uncover them. It's finding the funding for that, and maybe the program that it would fit best under. That's the approach that I think we recommend the village takes as you look at addressing some of the flooding that you've seen. Kind of a continual basis, and look for those grant opportunities as they come up for maybe some of the larger scale public infrastructure improvements that are available. So that's where we're at currently. We can kind of summarize it all. We've looked at these. I can summarize all these programs. You know, we've looked at them at various times over the last, that I've been involved in the village over the last 12 years. We've looked at various programs at different times. So I can kind of bring those together, summarize them, and it's something you can kind of take a look at and kind of make some determination about how you want to proceed moving forward at this point.
Okay. Mr. Jerusalem wanted to say something. Are there any other trustees that want to?
Yeah, I just got a question.
Mr. Jerusalem? Okay, Mr. Jerusalem, go ahead, and then after that, Mr. Trustee Rivers, and anyone else wants to speak?
Just very briefly, early in August, Governor Quinn signed an act called the Illinois Urban Awareness Flooding Act, and I did send a memo, I think, to everybody on it. It's not a short-term solution, but in a nutshell, in the next 9 months, the state is supposed to deliver a report on June 30th, 2015, that addresses a host of both local and regional draining issues. And what they're doing is they're asking allocations of funding for grant programs that could help this community with its particular flooding problem. So it's something I know Mark is aware of, and we'll keep an eye on it and let you know if there's some advantage or program that you guys can take advantage of.
There was one other issue I forgot to mention, is the village was contacted by FEMA to kind of help. There's 10 communities in Cook County that are looking to kind of help them put together a flood mitigation plan. Later in this September, I think it's on the 16th, David Myers, me and John West, and the mayor, I think I included you on the email. There's a teleconference that they're going to have to kind of go over what the problems the village has. And then where they're going to take that is then regionally, the village of Bellwood, Melrose Park, Pink River Grove. They're going to have a meeting on October 22nd to kind of present based on the flooding issues that they're knowing. I think David, me, and John West, I think we know the flooding issues. They're going to kind of help us identify some mitigation plans and emergency response plans. I know Cook County is working on the same thing, but this is FEMA. Did select the village out of all the Cook County communities. It's one of the 10 they looked at for this pilot program to see if they can be of good assistance to maybe further expand it later on to other communities. So
We reached out to all the facilities and no one returned our call. We've been calling Red Cross. They didn't even return our call.
as far as getting aid to clean out areas, right?
Period. We
That's
just
very,
reached out, period. No one returned our call. No one.
well, that's an issue I think that we'll bring up in our meeting with
Yeah.
FEMA to say, besides these big funding projects, responding and actually getting assistance, physical assistance, people present, to help with those issues. I think that's one thing that we can identify for when we have these basin areas that are flooded during these high intensity events.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Before you take off, okay, sir, I'm sorry.
Just Mark, just real quick, because I heard about the backflow system. Is that like an entire area at once, or is that individual homes that will be installed?
Individual homes.
Individual
homes, because we have to protect the individual homes from our sewer system backing into their basin.
So
where
that-
the water train is.
And that's done in the parkway, or is that done on the residential?
A lot of these are done on residential property. So what the grants on most of these things are is, yes, you get funds to help you, assist you, or to complete the work. But at the end of the day, that's your check valve. So you maintain it, you make sure it stays intact. It's not something that the village is assuming the liability for the long-term maintenance. It's helping them, assisting people in getting that in there to help reduce the amount of basement flooding and damages and cleanups that you see because of that. So that's been typical of what these programs have been written as.
And the last part of this question is okay, once it's okay, if it's installed, what is the question? I forgot my train of thought, that's right.
There's many different systems that are out there, and it's more of, I'll bring forth the program. I'll bring you Brookfield's program. It's pretty well thought out. I'll bring you that program. You can kind of take a look at it, and it's kind of a menu of choices you can pick. You can limit it to whatever you want to. It's more of a discussion of, would you want to have that kind of a program here in the village?
Trustee Cross?
How soon can you get this report? Based on the information, I've been also studying this, and a lot of what you said I've read about. Some of the others, LaGrange is another one, River Forest is another one. Arlington Heights did this some years ago, and they supplemented they worked on a similar program where they provided to all residents who installed some form of a flood control system into their homes, they reimburse them up to a certain amount. So I think that there's a good program that we do need to talk about, because we have to realize that way the climate weather's changed, we're gonna continue to get floods here. And so, you know, I mean, it's not the village's responsibility so much to address the homeowner's personal properties, but we need to be able to share with the homeowners what's available out here. You know, because there is a misconception here as to what is the village's responsibility and what is a homeowner's responsibility. And many times what we hear is that, well, it's because the leaves are all blocking this sewage. There is tree limbs in, but also the water reclamation. And when that overflow, as you said, I have a flood control system. So when the water comes in, if ComEd is working, I don't have a problem. But if the power goes out, it's coming into my home and anyone else's. But if the other part of that is that when the we get this water, and then they shut the what is it called?
When the deep tunnels close down, there's capacity.
Right,
It's at capacity,
exactly.
so we
That
can't
water's
fill
got to go somewhere. So if mine is working, it's going to bypass me, and it's going to try to find the next home that is unprotected.
The more
And that's
homes
what it
that
is.
implement it,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
you can increase the issue in some of the other homes. I mean, because it is gonna go to the lowest level
Absolutely.
of relief first, and that'll be the basement that's unprotected. So getting the information out and continuing to put the information about what programs out there, or even what devices are out there, it can be as simple as that, is kind of one of those, you can do it home by home, and it does have a significant impact to what's going on in your own home. But if you can get whole areas to be protected like that, you start reducing the amount of debris the village picks up when there's a large event. Leaves on grates and that stuff, to me, that's great, because it stops the water from getting into the sewer to begin with. So sometimes that's the street flooding. I know people like to go out there and clean the leaf off right away. I used to have a basement that didn't have a check valve on it. As soon as they would clean the leaves off, the water would come into my basement, because the rest of the system wasn't ready to take on that water. So that's some of the, when we met in 2011, after the second flood that we had, the July 24th and the July 24th events, when we met, had a meeting over at the 200 building, that was one of the issues that I think a lot of people started to come around to, is I should have run outside and cleaned those grates off right away, because that's adding water to the sewer system, which then exposes my basement potentially to flooding. So people usually say the water's high in the street, so it's pushing its way down, but if it's not getting in there, maybe that's a little bit of a benefit to the system, so.
But the question I have is, how soon will you be able to give that to us?
I can have it at the next LLOC, I can have, or sooner, I can write the report sooner and distribute it to the manager's office. We can have that information put together pretty quickly. I mean, it's just summarizing all the programs that we've looked at over the years, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Mayor, I have a few things on this issue as well. One of them is, I mean, this is highly technical information, so I think it's really important to make it consumer usable. So the concept, of lack of a better term, of having one-pagers, or that can give the consumer at least an understanding of what's happening. Comes short of any liability recommendations, but if people understand the concepts of even what you talked about with the leaf coverage or that kind of blockage, and if people can understand the concept of what a check valve would do, if people could understand what a sump pump with emergency backup and those other things that they can make the decision as individual consumers to do, that's an important consumer information that somehow that we could at least expose people to. Personally, I can say I spent $14,000 putting in a system, and I felt like a fool when I was doing it. I said, why would I be spending $14,000 to do this in a home that I probably would not even be living at? It has saved me a number of times. That's my property in another town, and you know, but those kinds of things to understand because it has a battery backup and because it has two sumps, so that if one fails, the other one automatically kicks in. I think those are important things that we can give as tips, you know, to the consumer. And I think you guys as being engineers, if you take your engineer hat off enough to do consumer understandable things, that will be really helpful for us. And even if you can arm us with that as ambassadors, that really, you know, would help. The other thing is IML. I mean, the Municipal League this time next week will be having, there's a lot of important seminars and workshops and things where you can learn a lot about these kinds of things and what other communities are doing to deal with that. And lastly, we've got to make sure that we continue this conversation, particularly because flooding, in the real definition, is a national thing, you know, through FEMA. We have to make sure that we continue to talk with Durbin and Kirk and Congressman Davis as our federal representatives, because no matter what we try to do as a municipality, if it doesn't happen at the larger scale with the larger reservoirs or whatever, we are very, very limited in how we can combat that. So we need to reach out to those elected officials and make sure that they in particular understand what we're going through and you know, do the best thing that they can with representing us on a federal level.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mike.
Oh, you still, you had something else, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I know we pushed for time, Mark, if you would, could you just give a brief update regarding the alley project, and it's just brief, because I know we're pushing up time.
Really
One of our
super brief.
session, so.
John West and I met with Roy Strom last Thursday. We kind of laid out how the project will move forward. Basically, it will start at 9th Avenue, and we'll do the work between Oak Street and Washington, heading west. Then it'll turn and basically do all the way down to 21st. Then we'll do all the alleys between Washington and Madison, 21st heading east to 9th Avenue. That's a bulk of where the stone alleys are. After that, that'll be about a 2-week window that it'll take to address those alleys. Then we'll move from the north to the south along the east of 9th Avenue, and then swing south of Madison to kind of complete them. It's thought that those might take a little less than 2 weeks. They're much shorter, but they're much further spread out, so it takes a little longer to move between each alley. The big issue that we have right now is looking for a source of aggregate to allow us to address the potholes. The village's source is very low. We've looked at surrounding communities. We can get a couple loads here and a couple loads there, but really we need kind of a sizable quantity to address the potholes that are out there. We are continuing to talk to some of the other communities around us that are in the middle of their paving programs to see if we can get from the contractors, who we're talking to in all the communities, to see if we can get them to dump the material at our yard at 2nd and Wilcox. That's where we historically dump that material. And then we pick it up from there and we bring it to our site. So right now we're searching for enough aggregate. Roy Strom doesn't want to start until he knows he's got enough aggregate. Otherwise he'll work for a day and then be done until we get more stone. So we need to get enough stone, aggregate. We're looking at crushed concrete sources, asphalt millings, and then also just regular stone. But regular stone's going to cost money if we go that route. We're looking for sources that will get us that aggregate for free before we're looking at sources that we're looking to buy. So that's the current status. So we don't have a start date. We had hoped, based on John and I looking, but we've been looking Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and today we've tried many sources, through contractors, through village contacts, to see who might have material that we can get our hands on. Even if the village is going and hiring a truck to pick it up, to bring it back to here, maybe that's the way we get it back to the village. But that's what we're working on right now. Roy Strom is also looking to see if he, through his sources, if he can get us an aggregate source. So that's what we're working on at this very point in time.
Approximately how many alleys do we have?
I think the last time I counted them for when we did the bonds was maybe stone alleys. I think we have about 89 stone alleys, sections of stone alleys. I can get you the entire list. It's on a spreadsheet readily available.
Please do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else have questions?
We finished it.
That was it, I passed out the memo that Mark gave me tonight, that we kind of give you guys in writing, but I want him to make it public, so we can address the public comments, okay, Mr. Clay. So that's it, sir.
Okay. Under other matters, I just got one question, and just want to address it to the village manager. How are we doing with moving the president's office over to 40 Madison?
You know, Mr. Trustee, Rivers, I'm not actively involved with that right now. I've been trying to address other measures. I will move that up the ladder, but I've been trying to address other issues, such as some of these TIF projects moving forward, but I will be working on that, just so you're aware.
All right, question.
Go for it, sir.
You can't give us a date?
Off the top of my head, I can't give you a date. I'll get a plan together and get it back to you. I'll have it for you at the next board meeting.
That's fair.
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee, I'm sorry, go ahead. Jacob?
I just wanted to say on a lighter note, that as predominantly African-American community, we wanted to congratulate the Jackie Robinson West Little League baseball team for their accomplishment of winning the United States Championship, and that's why we're wearing these T-shirts tonight.
Absolutely.
I just wanted that for the record.
Trustee George?
At our special board meeting that we have regarding the summer work program, I requested a report that would show what the daily workload was or duties were, and I was just wondering when will this board or myself receive that?
We can work on getting that for you, Trustee Doris.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Ma'am, on other matters, I'd kind of like to make a statement. Saturday, Senator Lightfoot is having a college, seance, or college fair that you do every year at 1001 West Road in Westchester. That she'll have it from 10 to 3 in the afternoon, and those hours, all high school children, our seniors and our juniors will be, as you already remember from last year, you was there, to be there, to have the same effect. The kids that come to college, come there and talk to the college in Georgia. I think it was 16 last time. College was there from the state of Illinois, and they had a chance, opportunity to meet with each college and find out what the curriculum is, what it takes for them to meet college and what they need to do to be a member of college. So this is a yearly thing, and it is happening Saturday. I would also like the village manager to put a robocall, because last time we put a robocall in, it was very effective. People didn't even know about it and didn't prepare it, but I remember the thing last year. The lady came up to Kim and was crying because she was so glad that she heard it on the robocall when they were able to take her child, because she couldn't afford to take her child downstate to these different colleges because she didn't have any transportation up, but she was able to get him to Roosevelt Road where Kim's office was, and they had a chance to meet 3 different colleges to give him a chance to see which one he could go to and what it takes to get into that college. So that'll be Saturday,
What time?
10 o'clock.
Also like to mention that the Bataan Day is Sunday at 3. By the Fred Hampton, who will know it's by the Bataan there on First. Any other questions or comments? Motion?
Make a motion to move to executive session for,
Second.